To the other 31 teams in the NFL, why did we let this man trade down and still get Christian Gonzalez? Why is that a thing? Christian Gonzalez, in my opinion, was the best corner in this draft class, and he was the third one off the board. Belichick could have had him at 14, said, nah, I'm going to trade back to 17, still get him, and then proceeded to have a really good draft after that. And we'll talk about the draft later.
And fuck the Jets over.
Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another video here on the channel. If you don't know who I am by now, my name is David. I also go by Miller Football, and I am currently doing a series here on this channel where I am talking about all 32 teams in depth with the help of fans of those teams, because as a Chicago Bears fan, as much as I feel like I know ball, I can't give that deep insight onto these teams as much as fans can. And we're going to be talking about the New England Patriots today. And joining me to my right, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Sam Federman. And then below me, we've got our boy, Aidan. So before we jump into this, guys, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, personally. I know Sam's excited, too. It's been a while since I've talked to Sam. I hope he remembers me from a couple of years ago on social media. I certainly remember interacting with him. And David, this is the first time we're getting after it and chopping up ball. I love football. I love the Patriots even more, so I'm very excited.
I love the energy.
So I love the Patriots, but I hate the Patriots. That's kind of
fair.
That's the relationship that's kind of developed over the last few years, because when you're so accustomed to the same thing and just every Sunday being, oh yeah, wake up, win, go to sleep, repeat, it makes it really hard to adjust back to, hey, maybe you're not going to win every game. You're going to be a mediocre football team, and you're just going to be really frustrating. And sometimes it's going to be cool, and sometimes it's going to suck. But you know what? That's football.
That's true. And hey, listen, I would kill to have the arc you guys had.
We sound so spoiled saying that.
I mean, yeah. But hey, I've got a soft spot for Pats fans. I love Brady. I love Belichick. When I was little, me and my dad would watch Patriots football in the playoffs all the time because obviously the Bears weren't there. So if I had like a second team, it would probably be the Patriots. So
okay, like that.
I love the Patriots. I love everything about this team. I'm one of the few people outside of New England who's like an astute Belichick defender.
Don't hear that often.
Yeah, but speaking of Bill Belichick, that's kind of where I want to start this, because I feel like in the year of our Lord 2023, there's a lot of weird dialogue surrounding the man who, in my opinion, is the greatest head coach this sport has ever seen. So what are your thoughts on Bill Belichick as it stands? Like where he's at right now?
Yeah, I think right now we have somebody that is a great defensive coach. My main concern right now with Belichick, though, is the power he has. I think in the NFL, it is near impossible for one man or woman or whatever to be the head coach of a football team and the GM. Okay. And in Bill Belichick's case, a GM that doesn't allow a lot of people into his war room. He calls a lot of those shots. Both those are year-round jobs that require like 24/7 attention. So if you have one person trying to do both, like good luck. And I think that's why Belichick is drafted so poorly. And then we have little details starting to be missed. Last year, their special teams was awful. Offensively, why are we letting Matt Patricia run the offense? So things like that are starting to, you see these little slip-ups. I still think Belichick is an incredible coach, but GM Belichick at the same time, because they're linked, they're paired together, is going to hold this team back from like ever getting back to the Super Bowl in the Belichick era.
Yeah, I think that the interesting thing about Belichick is every time that I question when he acquires a player, I at least like when that player starts playing, you can see why Belichick acquired the player, regardless of whether he's good or not. He has a plan. And that is the good thing about having a general manager, head coach that's the same person, because they have the same brain. They're acquiring a player. They know what they want to do with them. But the issue is that we've gotten to the point where the game of football does not take the same. It's not the same league as it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's not saying that Belichick doesn't know what he's doing. It's just that his idea of what works in football is a lot more towards what worked 10 years ago versus what works now. And I don't know if he really cares all that much to change it that much, because why would he? He doesn't need to. He has the He has the most job security anybody could ask for. And I'm not, I mean, I blame him a lot because it's really frustrating watching a team that was really as mentally stupid as the Patriots were last year at times. The special teams were a total disaster. I mean, the penalties have gone up in recent years. Just total stupid mistakes that feel like just bad coaching 101 written all over it. But you got to remember, the talent on this roster is not quite what it once was. And yet, we're still putting up really good defenses, aside from 2020, which was a weird defensive year. But 2021 and 2022 were electric defenses. And you got to look at it this way. If Ramondre Stevenson doesn't fumble on the goal line and the Raiders play that was a touchdown to whoever it was in the corner of the end zone, Keelan Cole in the corner of the end zone, was called out of bounds because it was out of bounds. Patriots make the playoffs last year if those two things happen, which, I mean, should have happened, which is ridiculous. If you watched all those games, that was not a playoff team. But the results were very close to being there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing Aidan brought up, specifically the Matt Patricia at offensive coordinator thing. And I feel like last year specifically was an example of Belichick almost outsmarting himself, because obviously Belichick takes a lot of risks. And the majority of the time, those risks work out. Like, Bill Belichick knows what he's doing. He's one of the smartest minds the sport has ever seen. And last year, because he, I guess, wasn't fully prepared for Josh McDaniels to leave, he says, okay, let's take Matt Patricia, who's worked for me before. Let's throw him at offensive coordinator, see what happens. And you get, for lack of better words, a total clusterfuck on the offensive side of the ball. And it's an example of Belichick outsmarting himself. And you see this too with a lot of the draft picks he makes, reaching on small school players and, pulling out obscure names. And every once in a while, you get a Cole Strange where other GMs laugh at you, and then the guy comes out and looks like an absolute monster on the football field.
There's a guy this year, Marte Mapu, I think is going to
be a stud. I love that. Yeah. Yes.
I think he's going to be a stud. Sacramento State. And it's like the same mold as Kyle Duggar, who I was, and he's like my favorite player now, Kyle Duggar. Yep. I think that the Patriots are so good at finding just like a ton of bigger linebackers / safeties that can just make this defense so much more physical. And I love that. And I thought Devin McCourty was playing like a 72-year-old bald man last year. And honestly, for the last couple of years, because that's basically what he is at this point. And I'm, as much as I love him, I'm glad he retired. So glad we have more room for better safeties.
Yeah, I love that you brought up Marte Mapu. I'm so excited for him. He's such a fun football player, and I think Belichick's going to have a field day with him.
Less than 8 minutes for the first Marte Mapu name drop. But yeah,
and hopefully Patricia, not the last.
I'm Patricia. It's kind of like if you had a position player pitching in baseball, but not just like in an 8-run game. If your entire rotation, if your starting rotation was a guy who was your shortstop last year, who was a third baseman in the minors, and then essentially, if you collected a rotation of position players to pitch, it was not going to end well. It was stupid. I don't even know what the thought process was. There was there was nothing to back it up. Matt Patricia is quite literally more qualified to go up on the next space shuttle than he is to be the offensive coordinator for an NFL team.
That's a way to put it.
I mean, you're probably not wrong. Yeah,
I'm literally not wrong. He was an aerospace engineering major.
Oh, really? Okay, well, then definitely not wrong. I didn't know that.
For his first job in football, he literally slept in the office at Gillette. I'm not kidding.
Valid. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that he was an aerospace engineer. I mean, hell, maybe Belichick thought, this dude can figure out space travel. Maybe he can figure out an offense. And clearly that wasn't the case. The only thing I could see is, like, in all seriousness, maybe he looked at it as, okay, Matt Patricia is familiar with how I like to run my defenses and has been around here before. So maybe he can, like, back or reverse engineer one of my defenses into an offense. And that kind of felt like what last year's offense was it was a defensive mind trying to call an offense.
Yeah.
And it again, it was just a total shit show. It was a really, really bad product on the field. And it led to a lot of different things that we'll get into as we talk more about last season. But it's tough. Despite that, and obviously despite the Belichick GM situation being very hazy, to say the very least, I don't understand everyone that's coming out and saying, okay, Belichick's on the hot seat. Maybe Belichick needs to hang it up. Maybe Belichick needs to call it quits, or maybe the Patriots need to go a different direction. Because, like Sam pointed out, he still had the Patriots as an incredibly competitive football team last year, despite all of the shortcomings on offense, because that defense was legit. And they were in more games than they should have. They had an 8-9 record. Like it was such a confusing and conflicting football team last year to watch.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, like, when I watched the Patriots, every single game I would watch the Patriots like, God, Belichick stinks. This is awful. And then we'd come out and hey, we beat the Jets today. Or hey, we beat whoever else it was that we beat last year. We crushed Indianapolis, or we just beat the Dolphins. Kyler Murray got hurt and we beat Arizona. Hey, we're winning games, but this looks horrible. So the process just feels like it's so tangled.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It did feel really tangled. It's just tough. It was really, really tough football to watch. And a big contributor to that as well, on top of the Matt Patricia at offensive coordinator situation, was the quarterback battle, so to speak. The battle that wasn't a battle between Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi.
Let's call it like it is. Mac Jones and the voices in Mac Jones's head.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was the real battle last year. Mac Jones fighting his inner demon. So that's kind of my next question for you guys is, where do you stand with Mac Jones right now? Do you think last year was a him thing? Do you think it was a scheme thing? Or do you think he's going to be fine?
Well, where I've stood on Mac Jones ever since his days at Alabama, he's never going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. What it takes to be elite as a pocket passer is next level processing. And it's even harder in today's NFL as things are tailor-made to even more athleticism, extending plays outside the pocket, all these things. At the same time, though, for Mac Jones, there's a reason his second year was worse than his first. He didn't regress as a player. The situation was like unbearable. I don't know how many second-year quarterbacks are going to succeed in a situation where, like, we're going to get into the details of Matt Patricia and what was so bad about that, because I think people would like to hear exactly, we shit on Matt Patricia, but what was the real issues? We'll get into that, I'm sure. But yeah, on top of that, a terrible receiving core, had no help on his blind side, and at right tackle for most of the season. Those were both an issue for this roster. Like, the whole thing was just an absolute disaster. And right now where I stand with Mac Jones is in a competent situation. He can be a fine starter. The ceiling's still capped, but I think consensus is a little too low right now, and they've overcorrected themselves a little bit after 2022.
I think that Mac Jones, the media and social media has had it out for him since the moment he stepped on the field at Alabama, because everyone loved Tua at Alabama, and he was the guy replacing Tua. And people didn't like that. And then when he had a better college season than Tua, people didn't like that. And look, he never should have been in conversations to be the number 3 pick, but I think that the conversations that put him at the number 3 pick, the smokescreen there, has forever ruined Mac Jones' discourse, because the backlash that he took from people turned so many people into thinking he's this pumpkin who's terrible at football. Turned so many people into thinking that he's Josh Rosen that it got to the point of no return, really. And he's not that. I mean, I honestly think his athleticism is a little underrated. He can move a little bit. His pocket movement is pretty good. His first year, he was really good at avoiding sacks. And he doesn't have the greatest arm talent. His zip is not ideal. I'd say that I wish that he put a little bit more zip on the ball. And his decision-making last year was kind of a train wreck. But his rookie season, was really good. And this is a guy that can absolutely be a solid NFL quarterback, and I don't think that there's any reason to think that he won't be a solid quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Aidan, starting it off, hit the nail on the head with saying he's never going to be an elite quarterback, right? He has the upside of like a Kirk Cousins, of a Dak Prescott, of somebody in that area where they're like right outside the top 10, but you can win games with a quarterback like that. It's just very dependent on the talent around them and them being sound mentally. And, like Sam so elegantly illustrated, Mac Jones was fighting the voices in his head last year because of all the different narratives and all the different media attention he's gotten. Like, even just outside of the Tua thing and him being the number 3 overall pick, he was the successor to Tom freaking Brady. That's a lot for anybody.
And honestly, that's probably the best PR he's gotten.
True.
Like let's remember what the PR was like for him in his first month in the NFL. Sorry, not first month. First month, everyone thought he sucked. His next 2 months, people thought he was really good. And that's the best PR he's ever gotten. And it lasted like a month.
Yeah.
And it's insane to me that like the public perception of Mac Jones is basically proves that nobody's ever watched a football game that he's played. Now, is he a superstar? No, of course not. But he's a more than capable NFL quarterback. To be fine in the NFL is more than a lot of teams can say.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I won't lie. I'm somebody that, quite frankly, until this morning, when I was doing some last-second film watching on Mac Jones and realized how bad the play design and the supporting cast was last year on like a rewatch of a rewatch, I was one of the people in that boat that was like, Mac Jones isn't good. And truth be told, a lot of that might have been in bad faith because I was really upset about him trying to kick Jaquan Brisker, or not trying, actually succeeding and kicking Jaquan Brisker in the nuts. But, going back and looking at it, you had receivers running into each other last year. The offensive line was bad, like Aidan pointed out. And again, he had Matt freaking Patricia calling plays for him. So you take all of that on top of these lofty expectations and this crazy media narrative that's been spun around him, and you have a recipe for disaster. And I can't imagine what that would do to a person. Like we heard, even going into last year, this idea that Mac Jones can't take criticism and that all the coaches had to like dial back their coaching because he was too sensitive to it. Like, can you imagine as a man what that would do to you if the entire world thought you were soft like that, to the point where you just can't handle criticism from the people that are above you on the food chain?
Men's mental health is a serious thing.
It really is.
I don't know if you guys are baseball guys, but there's a player in the Red Sox named Jarren Duran, and he was going through some serious mental health demons last year. I mean, he had some run-ins with fans. He was just playing really poorly, and that made it worse. He spent the offseason at home in Southern California with his friends with his friends growing up. He comes out this season, and he was the best player on the team the first half of the season. And he struggled in the second half of the season. And a couple of days ago on his Instagram story, he posted something. It's like, I'm falling back into the place where I worked so hard to get out of. And you can tell based on like his baseball abilities, he doesn't look like he's in it the way he was 2 months ago. And you know what? This is a serious thing that people need to understand. It's not just like, oh, this guy's soft. It's men's mental health has not gotten enough. People don't understand. I don't really know how to word this. That kind of proves my point.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it. It's not talked about enough. It's completely overshadowed by basically everything else. And to take that even a step further, male athletes' mental health is completely non-existent in discussions and in discourse. Nobody cares about an athlete's mental health. We were talking about this when we were talking about the Cowboys the other day in one of these episodes because of Brett Maher. The way kickers are treated, namely by NFL fans, is insane because that is all mental, right? You see these guys getting kicking slumps. It's because they miss a kick. It screws up their confidence. And then the amount of backlash that kickers get online because they just, that's their only job. And the whole ninja tweet of why do kickers just miss? And that's like a widespread belief. It applies to every position in every sport. And Mac Jones, again, as much as I don't necessarily like the guy, was getting a lot of unnecessary bullshit thrown his way. And I can only imagine the weight that he felt and the pressure that he felt from all of that. And that's absolutely, as Sam illustrated with the baseball player, it is going to impact his play. And when you take that on top of how poorly the offense was drawn up, it's a recipe for disaster. No one's going to succeed in that. Nobody. I don't care how talented you are. If your mind's not in it, your mind's not in it, and it's going to completely take you out and ruin any chances you have of being successful.
And let's add on to that. Like he and Bill Belichick mid-season had a bit of a rift where Mac Jones goes outside the organization because lack of trust with Patricia maybe is the way to put it, because Jones goes outside the organization, asks for help from his Alabama coaches. Word gets back to Belichick. Now there's a huge rift between the two, and I don't know if that fracture has been fully healed yet or it ever will be. So that's another concern that I have moving forward, but also adds fuel to the fire.
Yeah, especially with a guy like Belichick, who, as great as he is, that man's ego has to be exponential.
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah, and you imagine, he looks at that as, oh, am I not doing enough for you? Am I not good enough now? You need to go to other coaches. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Guys that's, Belichick was clashing with Tom Brady. He wanted to get rid of Tom Brady because Tom Brady was challenging his ego. Mac Jones, all due respect, isn't like a fraction of what Tom Brady was at his peak. And if Belichick was willing to get rid of him for Jimmy freaking Garoppolo, it's no surprise that he got benched for Bailey Zappi. And, there was this crazy narrative starting to be spun. And then, the stuff with Malik Cunningham already in the preseason where people see him make a couple exciting plays and it's, oh, Mac Jones's days are numbered because this kid is fun. This kid's exciting. And no disrespect to Malik Cunningham. I love the kid. I hope he does great. But he's not
in fantasy last year.
Fair enough. There you go.
I mean, I think that the Bailey Zappi thing was hilarious last year to me because you could tell just how little teams respected Bailey Zappi based on how wide open every single receiver was that he would throw to. The teams are just stacking the box. It felt like they were playing with 11 dudes in the box, just daring Bailey Zappi to throw the football. And you know what? It won us 2 games. So, yes, Bailey Zappi is capable of making a basic level high school quarterback throw.
Yeah. I mean, Bailey Zappi, he's a backup quarterback in the NFL. That's what he is. That's all he's going to be.
He's a backup quarterback in the SEC.
There you go. Yeah, he's not better than Mac. He has no real chance of taking Mac's job unless it's something non-football related that causes it. Like Aidan pointed out, maybe that rift is still there and it drives an even bigger, wedge between Belichick and Mac Jones throughout this season or something. But no, the main point here is Mac Jones is not a bad NFL quarterback. The guy had everything going against him last year. And, I think people are quick to forget how good he was his rookie year. We were talking about him as the best quarterback out of that class, at least for that year. Like we all knew he wasn't going to be better than Trevor or anything, but for that year, he was the best quarterback out of the class while everyone else was getting their feet set. He was the most, I guess, NFL ready, you could say, right?
Yeah, and I think that people kind of just chalked it up to the fact that he was playing for the Patriots, which I thought was ridiculous. If anybody actually watched that year's Patriots team, they'd realize that it wasn't just the perfect Kyle Shanahan 49ers thing going on there. It was, hey, maybe this guy's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, I'm not a Mac Jones fan because of some of the dirtier stuff he's done. But
oh yeah, no, there's no defending that.
Yeah,
he's a dirty player. It's true.
Yeah, but I do feel really bad for him because the amount of shit he gets is is very unwarranted. And, like we said, it's got to be weighing on his mental health. And I'm a big advocate for caring about athletes' mental health. I haven't done it as of late, and that's totally on me. But like on my old podcast, we would talk about it pretty much every week because there was always something going on that would relate to it. And it's really tough to see. As someone who struggles with some of that kind of stuff myself and sees a lot of people struggle with it, I can't imagine how it would be to struggle with that and then also be in the spotlight and have all of the pressure and have all of the scrutiny and have everyone in the world be able to watch essentially your every move and scrutinize every little thing you do. It's ridiculous. And that's, whole other conversation about how shitty social media is and how it's done irreparable damage to athletes and discourse on sports and all that kind of stuff. But it's tough. It's really tough. But speaking of an athlete who the discourse on him has kind of shifted, the New England Patriots recently signed running back Ezekiel Elliott. And normally I'd save something like this for when we get into the offseason at large, but I just want to ask up front because it's so recent and it's so relevant. How do you guys feel about that move?
Look, for me personally, where Zeke still succeeds, because everybody wants to say he's washed. For the most part, he is. But you look at this Patriots depth chart behind Ramondre. I think Ramondre Stevenson is a top 12 running back in the league right now. True do-it-all guy. But behind him, it's Pierre Strong, 4th-round pick, hasn't really done anything in the league. I think if they shift their rushing scheme this year, which we might get into a little bit later,
for sure we will.
Pierre Strong will be a better fit in that type of system, but he hasn't been good. Kevin Harris, 6th-round pick, was cut last year, brought back. I liked him as a prospect. Still think there's a little hope, but not as a sufficient backup. And Ty Montgomery, who hasn't put up like over 200, 300 scrimmage yards in almost a half a decade. It's bad.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Right. He was hurt last year, barely played, and now he's coming back at age 30 season. So we'll see how that goes. But
feels like he's 70.
It really does.
It's been a while. It's been a long time. Remember when he was a receiver, running back hybrid for the Packers?
I think he had like a kick return touchdown, and that's like my only ever memory of him. And he played for the Patriots, and I don't have a memory of him on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Aside from me wanting him cut. That was the only memory.
But Zeke now slides in as the RB2. I still think he's a very good pass protector and a very good goal line back in these short yardage situations. And Ramondre is a better pass catcher and a very good pass protector himself. So I don't know how much we'll see Zeke in that regard, but I do think Elliott will, handle a nice healthy dose of a couple carries, few carries a game, specifically in these short yardage situations. Last year, amongst the top 25 guys in usage in the inside the 10-yard line. I believe Zeke was 4th in conversion rate. Stevenson was 23rd. I definitely think some of that had to do with the supporting cast around Stevenson and some of the bad play design in the red zone. The Patriots were the worst red zone offense in the league last year, so definitely plays a factor. But I think Zeke might actually still be a very, very effective player in that type of role.
Do you guys remember in 2017 when the Patriots brought in Mike Gillislee?
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what Zeke is going to do. He's going to punch in a few touchdowns, like get 6 carries a game. Gillislee had more than that, but I mean, it was mostly in like the first
short
2
stint.
Ago. Yeah, he's going to Steven Jackson when he was with the Patriots, probably a little bit better than that. He's going to be a backup running back. Like there's not that much to it. He's an expensive backup running back. He's
expensive. He's
Louis Vuitton Brandon Bolden, and that's not a bad thing.
I love that. That's perfect. He is Louis Vuitton Brandon Bolden. That is perfect.
Hopefully it's not, but hopefully the third down strategy isn't just screens to Zeke like it was in 2021 with Bolden.
We'll have to see. No, I like Zeke for what he brings to the table at this point in his career because like Aidan said, he still has value. He's not completely washed. He's good on short yardage situations. He's probably the best pass blocking back in football. And I'm going to say this, and this kind of goes against everything I stand for, but part of me wants to see Zeke line up at fullback a little bit. Like that's my thing. I'm all about fullbacks. I'm strong advocate for the position coming back and being a strong part of the NFL, and it's slowly creeping its way up. But Belichick, very recently within the last few years kind of moved away from it. And Ramondre Stevenson has said he doesn't like running behind a fullback because it kind of limits what he can do in his mind in terms of moving around and whatnot. But I mean, Zeke's a damn good blocker. He's thick. he's got a little bit of that umph to him. Like, I'm just saying, Zeke on a
You
fullback
can
dive
say
on the
he's
2-yard
fat.
line. I mean, yeah, he's a big boy. But yeah, I'm just saying,
He's a
like, Zeke,
Popeye's biscuit away from being a fullback.
fair. That's a good way to put it. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, Zeke on the 2-yard line, fullback dive, maybe throw him on a flat route off play action. Like, he could cook there a little bit. Now, it would be weird since he's wearing 15. I think a fullback wearing the number 15 would give me nightmares, but you know, I just want to see more fullbacks. And if it takes Zeke being the Patriots fullback, then goddamn it, I'm all for it. But realistically, like Aidan said, he's going to be RB2. He's going to steal some goal line carries. He's going to piss off Ramondre Stevenson fantasy owners
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah.
Like that's his job. And as Sam pointed out, he's being paid a lot of money to do that. What is it? $6 million
It's
he's
$6 million.
making?
But
The
then
cap
again,
hit
like,
isn't too bad. I think it's south of 3 mil, but
like
still.
here's the
Okay.
thing. A lot of the
Okay.
discourse on Zeke over the past few years has been not that he's, I mean, okay, he's not what he was, and he's not even close to what he was. He's not even a quarter of what he once was. But a lot of the discourse didn't stem from that. It stemmed from the fact that he basically was making more money than any other running back in the league. I'm pretty sure he had the highest running back guarantee ever. And he doesn't have that right now. So the expectations are lower, the role is smaller, and he understands that. If he comes in, does his job every day, I won't see a problem. Sure, it's maybe a little bit more than it would cost if you had like a 4th rounder do it. But you know what? Zeke brings things that most 4th rounders don't.
True. Yeah, you're paying for the experience, you're paying for the pass blocking. Like, I get it. You know, it's not the worst sign in the world. I'm not like offended by how much Zeke is getting paid or anything. I'm all for running backs getting paid more than they probably should. You know, with everything going on right now, shout out to Zeke for getting his bag. Even if the guarantees are a little low, hopefully he hits at least some of those incentives and you know, it makes a decent chunk of that 6 mil. But either way,
He's
like
got plenty of money.
I mean, he's got plenty, but you know, fuck it, get a little bit more. You know,
Yeah,
I'm all, like I said,
I'm
I'm all
never
for
gonna
players getting paid.
I'm never gonna talk down on a player in a morally appropriate way getting his bag. I will talk
Yeah,
down on the soccer players going to Saudi Arabia.
fair enough. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to start this off with a few questions there, and now I think we can dive into the nitty gritty of what was going on with the Patriots last year. And just to start things off, kind of rattling off some of the season-ending numbers, they were 8-9 last year, 3rd in the AFC East, 4-4 at home, 4-5 on the road, and then 2-3 in their last 5 games. So, you know, like we said, probably won more games than they should have. Maybe didn't win as many games as they could have, which is weird to say. They were almost like the reverse of the Minnesota Vikings last year, where the Vikings were the luckiest team on the planet, despite not looking too great. And then the Patriots, despite not looking too great, were in more games than they should have been and just couldn't get it done. And I think a great way to illustrate that is looking at the EPA per play numbers, because it really was a tale of two halves of a football team. Because on offense, this team was 28th in rushing EPA per play and 26th in passing EPA per play. But then on defense, they were 4th in run defense EPA per play and 2nd in pass coverage EPA per play. I mean, it's day and night, complete polar opposites of each other on either side of the ball. And once again, that's what happens when you have a defensive-minded coach running your offense and Bill Belichick running the other unit. One unit is going to look like a well-oiled machine that absolutely kicks ass, and the other one's going to be a complete and utter disaster.
And the other key thing there was that the Patriots defense had such a thin margin for error that it felt a lot worse than it was. Like, they were, what did you say their numbers were? 4th
in run defense, 2nd in coverage.
Yeah, it didn't feel like that because it felt like every single first down was the end of the world. And also, the one thing that the Patriots have still not quite figured out how to do is how to deal with a quarterback that's mobile. It's been a problem for years. Lamar Jackson has owned us. Justin Fields totally owned us. Josh Allen. I mean, even you throw it all the way back, Colin Kaepernick was a major problem. And this is something that Belichick defenses have struggled with throughout time, and it's becoming much more prevalent in today's game, obviously. And it's just something that the Patriots have got to figure out at some point. But the addition of a guy like Christian Gonzalez to this defense, that is probably a true number one corner compared to what Patriots have had. And in a division where you have Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs, it really did feel like every single time one of those guys touched the ball, it was the end of the world and the game was over and the season was over.
Yeah.
Because we had no answers.
Yep.
And now we have an answer.
True. Real quick, just as kind of like a sidebar, because I didn't even, have that written down in my notes, but you're absolutely right. Belichick defense is struggling with mobile quarterbacks has absolutely been a trend. So I want to ask you guys, do you have any theories as to why that is? Is there something that sticks out to you, maybe schematically or personnel wise, that would hold them back against mobile quarterbacks?
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind for me personally, it's been a little bit of a different case based off of the matchups, right? Like the first couple times they go up against Lamar Jackson, he was burning them on the edge with that read option game, and they didn't have the defensive ends necessary to like keep up with him. I mean, not a lot of teams did. Teams are still trying to figure it out, but I felt like they really struggled with that whole read option, scraping over the edge. And again, defensive ends that could cover the ground, which I don't know, maybe Dietrich Wise, I want to give him a chance with how long his arms are, but I don't know. It's a tough task anyway, but this is the identity of these Belichick defenses are always very man heavy. But we're seeing the NFL trend more towards zone as these quarterbacks get more athletic, because in a zone, you're able to keep your eyes in the backfield. And then the secondary and these linebackers, everybody dropping into coverage can, like, it's easier to help and run support when you're in zone compared to man. So I think that's also a big thing too. Belichick wants to run a lot of man, but a lot of these scrambling quarterbacks really kill it.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've noticed there is the Patriots defense simply hasn't been as athletic the last few years. The athleticism in the NFL has trended up. Patriots athleticism has lagged behind. It's just not been there. I think that there's a bunch of really talented football players, but maybe some of them aren't the quickest or aren't the strongest on that defense. And it's been that way for a few years. And I think that this offseason was a start to fixing that with guys like Gonzalez and Keon White and Marte Mapu. Just great athletes out there.
Very true. Yeah, and I think you're both right. Like, I agree with both points, but the thing that sticks out to me more is definitely the scheme end of things. Because if you look at the numbers last year, specifically the types of coverages the Patriots ran, just going ahead and getting into the defensive scheme, right? They were tied for 20th in cover 0 with 1.1% of their defensive snaps being out of cover 0. They were 3rd in cover 1 with 26.3% of their snaps, 5th in cover 2 with 18.9% of their snaps, and 12th in cover 3 with 38.8% of their snaps. So a lot of man coverage there. And then quarters, they were 26th with 7.7% of their snaps. Quarter, half, they were 30th with 3% of their snaps. And they were tied for 20th in cover 5 with 0.6% of their snaps. So as Aidan mentioned, this is a defense that is very, very man coverage heavy. And again, as you perfectly put, teams are starting to trend more towards zone coverages because it allows you to keep your eyes in the backfield, and you don't have to take your eyes off a guy like Justin Fields or Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen even, because if you do like that, they're 10 yards down the field while you're still trying to lock up your man on the sideline. And it's really tough when you see all these really mobile quarterbacks, also possess the ability to pick apart zone coverages like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields, hopefully starting to trend that way. They're making it near impossible for defenses to be able to keep up with them. And Belichick is, as Sam put it, lagging so far behind everybody else in that way, to the point where it almost feels like he's coaching against himself in a way when he's coaching against mobile quarterbacks. Now, if he's going against somebody else like a Kirk Cousins or a Tua or whoever,
he owns Justin
he's
Herbert.
fine. Yeah. with those guys, he's fine because he knows how to get into their heads, and they can't deal with the aggressive man coverages that he's calling. But as soon as these mobile quarterbacks come to town, it's like, fuck, what's Bill going to do this week? Oh, he's just going to let them run all over us. And that's like, prime example of what happened in the Bears game when the Bears kind of turned their season around. Like, obviously they kept losing games, but the team looked a lot better offensively. And a big reason for that was because they come off that bye week. They're like, okay, Justin Fields is really good at running the ball. Let's actually put designed runs in our playbook for him to do that. And Belichick had no idea what to do about it. And
my favorite tweet about that, it's like the Bears like didn't win a game after that, and it was like Justin Fields still hasn't won an NFL game since being crowned as the greatest quarterback of all time. Which, look, I like Fields, but it's pretty funny.
No, I mean
overall,
it is.
I thought Belichick thinking that he could go man heavy with the cornerback room that the Patriots had last year, which he put together, was unbelievably arrogant. It just
very Belichick.
And he kept going, and he kept not making adjustments, and they are losing the exact same ways with Miles Bryant getting beat. Look, I love Marcus Jones, but he's 5'9". Jack Jones is good, but is he great? Probably not. I mean, the cornerback situation was a pretty big disaster last year. And it's because Bill Belichick didn't lock up J.C. Jackson when he needed to. It's because he refused to draft a McDuffie or an Elam in the first round last year. And look, I think it's a much better situation now that you have Christian Gonzalez in the mix and Jonathan Jones back in the mix and just second-year Jack Jones, second-year Marcus Jones. But it was a lot of rookies last year. It was a lot of Miles Bryant, who probably should, the only bay he should be at is Guantanamo. I mean, I'm not a Miles Bryant guy, if you...
No, I picked up on it. Yeah. It's a good run defender.
Maybe I was a little harsh there.
Alcatraz, good run defender.
Alcatraz could do. That's basically in a bay.
Fair enough.
But not the Bay State. I don't want him in the Bay State.
Fair.
Unless he's playing against the Patriots.
If it's not apparent, Sam really does not like Miles Bryant.
Really?
Maybe my least, like him and Marshall Newhouse, my least favorite Patriots players ever.
Yeah. How you feel about those guys is how I felt about like Chris Conte, if y'all remember him.
Yeah.
The worst white safety to ever grace the face of this fucking planet. God, I could go on for hours about Chris Conte. I won't, but I could. But I think, yeah, the addition of Christian Gonzalez, who, by the way, to the other 31 teams in the NFL, why did we let this man trade down and still get Christian Gonzalez? Why is that a thing? Christian Gonzalez, in my opinion, was the best corner in this draft class, and he was the third one off the board. Belichick could have had him at 14, said, nah, I'm going to trade back to 17, still get him, and then proceeded to have a really good draft after that. And we'll talk about the draft later.
And fuck the Jets over.
That's true. He did. I almost forgot about that. He did completely fuck the Jets over, and that led them to making a pick that I thought was really bad.
That's honestly for me at this point in time, with all the talk that Jets fans are doing, probably means more to me than getting Gonzalez.
That's fair. But yeah, I made a tweet earlier, and I tried to make a banger. I don't think it worked, but I'm still proud of my analogy. Letting Belichick get Christian Gonzalez is the football equivalent of the U.S. developing the atomic bomb during World War II. Like, this is the key. This is what is going to set this defense over the edge, is having this dude. Because, oh my God, I could go on and on and on about how amazing Christian Gonzalez is. And you put this guy who is not only a tremendous man corner, but might make Belichick a little more willing to play zone coverage, hopefully, because of how good he is there. Like, he's the key. He's going to be incredible in this defense, and I'm so excited to watch him play, and I'm glad he went to the Patriots. I just really hope they get his number situation figured out, because he wore 19 in the preseason game, right?
The entire draft cycle, I was like, all right, just don't screw this up. Just don't screw this up. Then I woke up the morning of the draft and I saw Witherspoon was starting to get picked ahead of Gonzalez. And I was like, okay, the dream scenario is Gonzalez, but I think at the end of the day, I still want it to be Zay Flowers. I woke up on the morning of draft day and I wrote on a yellow sticky note, Zay Flowers, no matter what. I had it in my pocket all day. I ripped it to pieces when Christian Gonzalez was still on the board because I was so unbelievably shocked that happened. When Washington took Forbes over him, I was like, this is the ridiculous decision. What are you doing? And here we are. Christian Gonzalez is going to be an absolute stud.
The league has no one to blame but themselves, honestly. Anyone could have jumped up in front of the Patriots. Anyone could have taken him before the Patriots could. And they just let him fall to 17 into Bill Belichick's lap. I can't fathom it. I don't understand how this happened. Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe he interviewed poorly or some wonky shit's going on, but I doubt it. Like, I really don't think that's the case. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. But moving on from that, I want to talk about this defensive line because, oh my God, it is like I saw someone the other day say this might be the best defensive line Belichick's ever had. And I don't know if I'd go that far, but it's certainly the best one he's had in like the last 5 or so
It's
years.
one of the deepest I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Deep. Yeah, it is absurd.
I remember the days when Bill Murray was, I remember the days when there was like 7 defensive tackles on the roster and none of them were good.
Yeah.
Not a single one of them was good. Like Carl Davis was the best one. And Carl Davis is like the worst one now.
I was going to say he's like DT6 at this point.
Yeah.
Like he is buried on this defensive line. It's crazy. So before I nerd out, because I will go crazy and steal the show if I try to talk about him, I'm going to give you guys the floor. What are your thoughts on the current defensive line?
Oh, it's amazing. Oh, it's awesome. Like Matt Judon comes in, and I was a little skeptical of the signing at first, I'll completely admit. Because, that Ravens scheme, I felt like was just, I went back, rewatched a lot of the film. It was mainly cleanup sacks for the most part in a blitz heavy scheme, but he's legitimately like a top 10, like premier edge guy now in the NFL. Sure. I feel like he gets after the quarterback every single game. Josh Uche had a kind of like a breakout second end of the, I don't even want to say, but I hesitate to say that because in his rookie year, like I felt like he was doing a lot of the same things.
When has Josh Uche ever been bad?
What?
Yeah. When has he ever been bad?
No, well, this is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like he's just never got the usage, and they start to get it in the second half of the season. Awesome pass rusher. I think we're talking about what do they do about these mobile quarterbacks. Josh Uche could be an answer for them. They used him against Arizona in his rookie year, and he was great against Kyler Murray. So I don't know. He's just not great against the run with his size. But
I remember there was a play where I don't know if it was Kyler or Allen was running a bootleg, and Uche just chased him around the whole way and batted the pass down. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest player I've ever seen. And I was probably significantly more skeptical than you about Judon. And after the first season, like he was really good those first 10 weeks. Then he plummeted in December. He was awful in December. He had like 7 penalties in December of 2021. And the Patriots were awful in December of 2021. And then last year he comes back and hey, it's 16 games of what he did for the first 10 games in 2021. And we've got a Pro Bowler, and we've got Josh Uche, who's just as good as he is. And we've got random dudes stepping up and being great defensive tackles. Daniel Akewale is the most random human being to ever exist, and he's a productive NFL player.
Uche, just as a testament to like that back half of the year, because Aidan's absolutely right. His usage going up was massive for the Patriots last year. He had 12 sacks and 46 pressures in the back half of the year. In half of a season, what's that? Like 8-9 games. He had 46 pressures and 12 sacks.
He didn't have a sack. Absurd. He didn't have a sack until October 30th. which was ridiculous. They weren't.
Mhm.
They weren't. They didn't know how to use him. He played like 20% of the snaps before that, and
Mhm.
after that, he was playing a lot more of the snaps, and he was one of the best defensive players in the league.
Mhm. And I think my favorite part about Uche is not just how he's used, but the fact that the Patriots defense is built to understand his weaknesses, and they have Anthony Jennings to make up for it. Like you have the yin and the yang as your two edge rushers opposite Matt Judon, because Anthony Jennings is the exact opposite of Uche. He's this fantastic run defender, sets a really strong edge, just not good at rushing the passer. So you have this rotation of these two guys, and then obviously you've got other guys that rotate in too.
Dietrich
But those are the
Wise,
Mhm.
awesome.
I
Dietrich
mean, yeah,
Wise is great.
and
Devon
you bring
Godshaw's
in
a solid
Keon.
nose tackle.
You bring in Keon White. They just brought back Trey Flowers because why not?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean,
We haven't
this
even
is
talked
such
about Christian Barmore. If he
My
stays
favorite piece of
healthy,
the
yeah,
defensive
Christian
line.
amazing.
Barmore, who I mean, I was so high on when they drafted him, and
Mhm.
I'm still so high on him, even though he was not himself and injured a little bit last
Hurt.
year.
Yeah. No, I think Christian Barmore has all the makings of a premier 3 tech in this league. Like,
Yeah.
I think he can be a
Jeffrey Simmons
superstar.
tier type guy in the
Oh,
future.
absolutely. Yeah.
He's right there with Simmons, Quinnen Williams, Dexter Lawrence, that tier of guys. Like not the
Mhm.
Chris Jones, Aaron Donald tier, but the tier below that. That's where he'll be.
Right. Yeah, no, and I mean, you're still really happy with that, you know, you don't need
Absolutely, it's a
thrilled.
you
second
don't need
round
a
pick.
world beater, you need a
Thrilled.
almost world beater.
Thrilled.
Yeah. No, he's got everything you need. He's a stud as a pass rusher, super explosive. He has the ability to shift his weight and redirect himself like on a dime. It's
Mhm.
weird to say that a defensive tackle can cut on a dime, but he can, which is crazy. Like he's incredible. I love Barmore. I had him as a breakout candidate going into last season. Then, like Sam said, he got hurt and he wasn't quite himself. But I still think he's going to this year and then going forward be one of the premier defensive tackles in the league. Like
Yeah,
he is incredible.
the 2021 draft class was like I loved the talent in that draft class, and I had him as a top 20 player as an interior defensive lineman. Like
Yeah.
that was how much I liked him.
Yeah, he's incredible. And then Aidan brought up Dietrich Wise. He's kind of overshadowed by Uche and Judon because he's not the fun, sexy player, but he still had 56 pressures and 8 sacks last year.
Awesome last year. It was a breakout season for him.
Oh,
There's
absolutely.
a reason why he's stuck on this roster for so many years.
Mhm.
It's because he's a guy that soaks it all in and gives it us all on the field. He's not a superstar, but he does everything you need him to do.
Absolutely. And then last year he kind of played like a superstar. Like maybe not the best of the best, but he looked great last year. I thought
It
his
was his best year.
production and absolutely
Yeah.
his production and his ability made up for Barmore not being there, for me at least.
Yeah,
Like,
and he's got the size to do that. 6'5",
yeah.
275. He can play the
Long
edge. He can play
wingspan.
the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a consummate football guy.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got the unsung hero, Devon Godshaw, the nose tackle. Gotta love him. Eats all the space, lets everybody, run by him. Does all the dirty work.
Yeah,
I love a good nose tackle. The nose tackle is the fullback of the defense. It's a
yep.
lost art. It's I love it. I love it.
I mean, yeah, the Patriots have a history of good nose tackles. I mean, obviously, Big Vince is the one that everyone thinks about, but even more recently than that, I mean, Godshaw has been great, and Danny Shelton was really good for the Patriots compared to how bad he was everywhere else, basically.
Mhm.
The Patriots have been able to make solid nose tackles into really, really effective football players. And look, I was a little bit skeptical of how much they gave Godshaw when they signed him. I think I was at least
8 mil. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of money when they signed him.
That
And I'm
year.
like,
8
all
million.
right, it's not bad. Like, is it the greatest contract in the world? No, but I'm fine with it. I can live with it, and he's a great player.
Absolutely. And then some of the rotational guys, you've got Lawrence Guy who comes in, can kind of be the run counterpart to Christian Barmore. Like it's like you guys said, it's such a deep defensive line. There's so many notable names, and then we'll get into Keon White, who I will admit I'm not super high on, but I think the fit with Belichick is fantastic, so that makes up for it. Like this defensive line is quietly going to be one of the best ones in the league. In fact, there is a world where this is the best defensive line in the league, in my opinion. And I feel like not enough people are talking about that. Like, it's incredible. Sure, you don't have the big sexy names, but like Matt Judon, at least in the first half of the year last year, was a freaking DPOY candidate. Kind of teetered off a little bit, but he's still playing great. And then all these other names, maybe not as well known as some of the more flashy names in the league, but they still get the job done. And that's Belichick's thing. He just wants guys who get shit done. And that's exactly what this front four, front five is. And I love it. I absolutely adore it.
I'm not sure if you know anything at all about this guy, but last year there was a guy in the draft that Belichick, I remember, was linked to the Patriots and nobody else. Like, he wasn't listed on like any top 500 or anything. Comes from a super small school.
Was it Sam Roberts?
It was Sam Roberts. And
I can't
football
say I know
guy.
a lot about him.
Just football guy. You can tell, like, Belichick just loves the fact that he's a football guy.
Yeah,
is he very good? No. But like, is he a good back end roster guy? Yeah.
I'm sure he brings a lot of energy and grit to the locker room, and you got to have a guy like that. You absolutely have to.
Yeah, and he's huge as well. Northwest Missouri State.
That helps. That absolutely helps. That's why I love Belichick's draft classes so much, because it's always just the most random dudes, and they always end up being great. Shout out Marte Mapu. It's incredible. I love Belichick. He really is just the most. He's such a special guy when it comes to drafting. Does it always work? No. Is it fun? Absolutely. I don't care what anybody says. If you're a football nerd,
does he care? And he's never cared
about that.
He's never cared about what anyone has to say. He just says, all right, screw it. I'm going to take this guy because I think he's good. I don't care if anyone else thinks he's good. Now, and I've had my run-ins with Belichick. I was not a fan of the Cole Strange pick at all. I in fact threw something at that wall over there when they didn't draft when Kaiir Elam was picked a few picks before, because I was a huge fan of him. I knew we needed a corner. And we traded down when we could have taken him. But you know what? It's fine. It worked out. Cole Strange is solid.
He's awesome.
He's great. I love him.
Yeah. And I mean, there's obviously Michael Wenu is, I have his jersey. I love him so much.
I love that.
David Andrews is, if the state of Georgia was a person.
It's a good description. Yeah.
I mean, he's always wearing the Bulldogs hat. And when he's not wearing the Bulldogs hat, he's wearing a Braves hat. I mean, and he's a heck of a football player. But yeah, there's these guys that just come out of nowhere. I mean, he took Jack Jones last year. He took Marcus Jones in the third round last year. That was maybe a little high, but he had a vision of Marcus Jones as a weapon that could help everywhere. And Marcus Jones single-handedly beat the Jets.
Yeah. He did. Yeah, the back
one
guys
good
for the Patriots
moment.
Yeah. The secondary for the Patriots, and I'm going to lump the linebacker safety hybrid guys into that because it's such a fun group, right? And not getting into the rookies, we've already talked about Christian Gonzalez. We'll talk about him more. Marte Mapu, same thing. But the three Joneses and Adrian Phillips, Jabril Peppers, Kyle Duggar, that group of guys is so incredible and so fun and so versatile. Like, Kyle Duggar is someone that I feel like doesn't get talked about a lot, but the more you watch the Patriots defense, the more you realize he is what makes everything click.
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Kyle Duggar should be a 2-time Pro Bowler. He should have made the Pro Bowl each of the last 2 seasons. There's no reason why he didn't.
Yep. Yeah. So before I again nerd out about the Patriots secondary, what are your guys' thoughts on those guys?
Oh, it's an amazing group. As we were talking about with Kyle Duggar, he is the hybrid. He is the X factor that makes everything click. I'm glad you said it, David, because I was going to say it. It was, he just moves all over the field. They rotate him down. And it's not just in coverage either. And it's in run support too. He can take on guards. He's so physical. He flies around the field, and he's really starting to put it all together. And Marte Mapu, their third round pick, this is no bias because I know I'm a Patriots fan, but when I was going through the film, I wrote a piece on my favorite day 3 prospect at each position. Turns out he ends up going in the 3rd round, higher than his projection, but Mapu was my guy. I think I had him down as a safety, but I was like, hey, you can put him down as a linebacker, put him down as whatever you want, because he can do 1,000 different things. One snap, he's in center field. The next, he's up in the box, stuffing a run 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Awesome stuff, awesome player. So you kind of have 2 of those hybrid guys. I think Adrian Phillips
Jabril
is
Peppers
underrated.
too.
Jabril Peppers is great in the box, and he's been really good for the Patriots. A bit of a career revival with them. Just talking about their safety group, and we haven't even gotten to the corners yet. So,
yeah. I mean, I was not a fan of when they brought in Jabril Peppers, but Belichick had an idea of what he wanted to do. Hey, it worked. I was a big fan when they brought in Adrian Phillips, and Adrian Phillips has been
awesome,
almost a Pro Bowler, however many years in a row with the Patriots now. Marte Mapu, I didn't do a ton of draft stuff this year, so I wasn't very familiar. But the moment I saw the way they were talking about him on NFL Network and like the film that they showed on NFL Network, I was like, all right, this guy is the ultimate Patriot. And I watched the film and I'm like, all right, this is my guy. This is my rookie. This is going to be like the guy that I push all the agendas for. And like, I remember they drafted Jack Jones last year, and to get to the corners, because Aidan talked about the safeties. I mean, Jack Jones was really impressive last year when he was thrown into a role that most guys would not be ready for as a rookie, but the Patriots drafted Jack Jones because he's a more experienced guy at that older age for a rookie, and they needed him to be that right away. Look, does he get a big time second contract? Probably not. I mean, the odds are he's going to be a one contract player for the Patriots, but a really good one at that. And there's nothing against that. Jonathan Jones, when he's healthy, is one of the better slot corners in football.
For sure.
Marcus Jones is one of the more electric human beings to ever exist.
Little mini Devin Hester.
Sean Wade couldn't cover the sheets on a bed, but he's a human.
He might. I really feel like Sean Wade just got to make the transition to box safety, and that's if anything. But I don't even know. Does he fit with the Pats at this point?
Sean Wade's got to make the transition to out of the NFL.
If his last chance is a box safety, but other than that,
he's got to make the transition to arena ball.
That's bad.
Damn.
I just remember when the Patriots traded for him, like before his NFL debut. I'm like, all right, if the Ravens, who are a well-run organization, are trading a dude based on how he's done in practice, there's something wrong here.
Well, Belichick, he thinks he can fix everybody.
He didn't.
Sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah,
exactly.
Every here and there, it doesn't work.
And some names we didn't mention. Jalen Mills.
Yeah.
A solid depth piece for the secondary. He's played corner. He's played safety. Patriots fans seem to make him their punching bag for everything. That's something I've noticed. And it's I mean, sometimes he's been bad, but other times he's been good.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, as a depth defensive back, you can do a lot worse. Jalen Mills is absolutely.
You can do a lot worse. You can have number 27 out there.
I don't know who wears 27 off my head. Oh, Miles Bryant wears 27. There you go. Perfect.
He took J.C. Jackson's number and did that with it.
That's disrespectful.
When there was a game in 2021 against the Bills where Isaiah McKenzie had 110 yards on him. It was like 9 catches, 110 yards on Miles Bryant. And I'm like, why is this dude still in the NFL? And he's still in the NFL.
Letting up 100 yards to Isaiah McKenzie on multiple receptions is tough. That's really tough.
I mean, letting up 100 yards to him on one reception is probably even tougher. It's actually impossible.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, he was consistently getting the ball is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. No, on one reception, it is not feasibly possible. But yeah. The point is, it's not good. That is not a good performance by an NFL football player. But yeah,
not an NFL football player, by a person who claims to be an NFL football player.
by a
A
human.
poser.
Yeah, there you go, a poser, exactly. But yeah, the secondary in New England is just as deep and just as fun and just as incredible as the front four, front five. And I know I asked about the secondary, but I want to talk about the linebackers because they are still there. They still exist. And quite frankly, one of them I think is incredibly underrated, and that is Juwan Bentley,
Yep.
who is a fantastic run defender. Sure, not the best in coverage. He's okay. There's a reason why they rotate their safeties down in the box a lot. But as a run defender, I mean, there's really not a lot of like pure linebackers that are better than him in run defense in the league right now. And then Jelani Tavai is also pretty solid. Not terrible, not great. He's okay. He's somebody that you're okay with having on the football field from time to
Okay.
time.
Okay.
He's
I'll give you that. But
yeah,
yeah,
he's
Bentley. Bentley was a guy that for a pretty long time I didn't like him at all. Like until 2021, I think I thought he was garbage. And then last couple of years, it's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially last year. 2021 was fine. Last year was really good.
Really good.
It wasn't a Pro Bowl level, but it was like, wow, this is a solid starter. I did not expect this from you, Juwan Bentley.
Yeah, unfortunately, thumpers at linebacker aren't going to get any Pro Bowl nods in the year 2023, but you still got to love them. It's
Right.
again, it's another position that is a lost art, and Juwan Bentley has nearly perfected it as a pure downhill thumper of a linebacker.
But
Aidan, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Does it become a problem at some point when you keep realizing that every time we're praising a player for this team, it's like it's a lost art in the league?
I know. It's Belichick isn't quite with the times,
Exactly.
but god damn it,
That's my
as an
thing.
old school traditional football fan, I can't help but love it.
Yes, but
Is it
as someone
actively
who,
hurting the Patriots? Maybe a little bit. Do I care? Not
yes,
really. It's cool.
yeah,
It's
yes.
cool. It's different. It's unique. It's fun. It reminds me of my childhood, and god damn it, I'm at that stage in my life where everything needs to be nostalgic because I'm scared of growing up. Okay.
Okay,
What,
I'll give you that.
when I think of a run stop and linebacker, or a thumper of a linebacker, I think about when I first started watching football in like 2013. And
I started watching football before you.
Did you?
I've been watching the Patriots since 2009.
How old are you again?
I'm 18.
Okay,
I
you're
remember
2 years younger than me.
I remember 2009 watching Ray Rice take it to us in the
Okay.
playoffs.
I'm trying to think of when
When you were
I
5?
started watching. Yeah, when you were 5, you remember that?
I was
That's
5.
wild.
Yep. I remember exactly
2013
where I was. Benjamin's Steakhouse, Hartsdale, New York.
That's crazy. 2012, 2013, those 2 years are like the first 2 years I consciously remember watching football. But I think I was watching it a little bit before that. I don't know. I was a nerd as a child. I still am. I have a freaking Batman poster behind me. But like I was more into video games and playing Mario on my DS than I was watching sports. And one day my dad was like, "Hey, I found my old high school football tapes at your granddad's. You want to watch them?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And then I learned what a fullback was, and it was all downhill from there. Yeah, that's the origin. Yeah,
that makes sense.
The origin story.
My first exposure to football was the wing T offense. So
okay, this is all adding up.
I see why you're such a Belichick guy. Listen, I'm pretty sure Belichick would still run the wing T if he could.
If Belichick ran the wing T, the ungodly narratives I would push about that man's offense would probably sicken everyone I know. I would probably make.
I'm honestly shocked that he doesn't.
I miss the wing T. It needs to come back. More teams need to run the freaking wing T.
It
does. It is God's gift to this planet.
Come watch high school football in Westchester County, New York. You will realize it does not need to come back.
But no, point being, moving off of that, the Patriots defense is great. It's going to stay great. Sam, you're giving me a look that's kind of worrying me.
I just think this is a funny conversation.
Fair enough. But yeah, the Patriots offense is going to be incredible. And
I agree. It's going to be the best offense in history. It's going to be better than the 07 Patriots offense.
I meant the defense. God damn it. Okay, we were talking about the wing T and it screwed up my brain. Like I told you guys before this, I'm running on like 5 hours of sleep. So words are hard. The defense for the New England Patriots in 2023 is going to be incredible. I think there is a world where this is the best defense in the league. and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. But that being said, a place that I'm a little bit optimistic about, and we have to reflect on from last year, is the offense. And when I say a little less optimistic, I don't mean I think it's going to suck. I just mean I don't have as high of hopes for it as the defense. But the offense last year was tough. And obviously, as we've already said, the biggest reason for that was Matt Patricia. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on what the specifics of it are, but I'll wait. If you guys have anything you want to point to specifically, other than the fact that he was a defensive coordinator running an offense that you think made it suck, by all means.
He had no feel for game flow.
Yeah, even more specifically than that, it's a great point. I think the route concepts, you kind of talked about it earlier, David, just a lot of guys running into each other. And speaking of game flow, I just think some of the wrong routes at the wrong time, just route combinations were confusing. And especially in the run game, like Ramondre was far more efficient. I don't even know how to put this. Like when the Patriots would kind of use their size to their advantage, I think they didn't do enough with Cole Strange using him in some of the outside zone stuff. I know I thought they were going to run a lot more outside zone last year. Again, when they picked Cole Strange and it's a shifting of the guard, but they didn't. They were towards the bottom of the league in usage with it. Mac Jones is really good off play action too, kind of bootlegs and stuff. They just don't really utilize that either. So I just didn't understand. Like they ran a ton of gap last year and it just didn't really make a ton of sense to me. So I'm hoping that, again, this was just like basic level stuff that Patricia failed to see at first. And then he also failed to adapt upon it, which was the real fatal killer. All right, the first month of the season, you're adjusting to the job. You make these mistakes. Let's adjust to our personnel. Let's improve in these areas. And really no improvement was made throughout the year. So Bill O'Brien is going to be a massive step up. No doubt.
Absolutely.
My theory is that Matt Patricia put in a bunch of clinic tapes from the 1990s or 80s or something like that. Watched that and determined this is how I'm going to run offense in the NFL in 2022.
I hate that you're right.
Because everything felt like there was no creativity in anything. It was so basic. It was depressing that there were no adjustments ever made. It felt like every time the Patriots would move down the field, it felt like the luckiest moment of our lives. That Bengals game, that was the most wild string of lucky events to ever happen on a football field. And I've watched the Patriots recover 2 onside kicks in one game just to beat the Browns. I've watched that happen. But this was luckier.
Yeah. It's tough. Again, I think, Aidan, you actually hit the nail on the head. Like, you're in the same belief that I am. And Sam too, obviously. This offense was very much an old school offense. And I think to take what Sam said a step further, it's like he took game tape from the 80s and the 90s, internalized it, and then ran it poorly. Because not only was it an outdated, uncreative offense, but it was a poorly executed, outdated, uncreative offense. Looking at the run splits, because Aidan brought up, this was a team that probably on paper should have been doing a lot more zone with their blocking and ended up doing a lot of gap stuff. They were 27th in outside zone with 13% of their running plays being outside zone. They were tied for 13th in inside zone with 23%, tied for 7th in duo with 20%. They were tied for 6th in power with 12%, tied for 22nd in counter with 4%, tied for 3rd in draw with 6%, and then tied for 9th in pin and pull plays with 10%. So when you look at this offense and you see, okay, we've got these athletic linemen up front, namely Cole Strange, who can reach block like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
You've got an athletic running back who can get to the outside. You've got a quarterback who can thrive off of play action. I mean, call it a smokescreen, whatever. That's why it made sense that Kyle Shanahan liked Mac Jones coming out of Alabama, was because he's a very Shanahanian quarterback.
Yep.
We're using that as a term now?
Absolutely. I love the term Shanahanian. I love it. I don't know if other people say that. I started saying it. I doubt I created that.
I feel like there's a different demonym that would work.
Probably, but oh well. I typed it in my phone once. That also works. But I typed Shanahanian into my phone once, and I was like, I like that. I like the sound of that.
Shanahan, maybe?
Maybe. But the point is, Mac is great off of play action. So as Aidan pointed out, you have a changing of the guard. You can do something different. And instead of doing something different, you do the same thing, but worse. And you don't adjust. You don't adapt. There's no creativity. And that's why this offense sucks so bad. So you look at it this year, I'm hoping Bill O'Brien has any brain cell. I mean, I think he does. I think Bill O'Brien's a fine offensive mind, just not a GM like Belichick is, right? Don't let him near the GM chair.
I honestly don't even think it was all his fault. I think Easterby
it wasn't,
more of the
but
if he doesn't take over those GM duties, he's a great head coach. Like, I had no problems with him as a coach. He's been great as an offensive play caller, like at Alabama, for example.
Right.
It's just when he got that GM job, it all became too much, and that was a dumpster fire. That was atrocious.
And that's more my point with that. He was overwhelmed more than anything.
Remember, every single year, except for the year that Deshaun Watson tore his ACL, they had a winning record in Houston. 14, 9-7, 15, 9-7, 16, 9-7, 17, 4-12, 18, 11-5, 19, 10-6. Then 2020 doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to shit on Bill O'Brien for that. Like Sam said, there was other factors, and Aidan put it perfectly. It was a dumpster fire. But my point is, he's in a role now where he's not going to be overwhelmed. He's going to be the offensive coordinator in this team. And I'm confident that he will see the personnel, kind of see what me and Aidan are seeing and be like, okay, we need to play to our strengths. Because that was the other thing. They were not playing to their strengths. And when you're not playing to your strengths, you're never going to be successful. You're only making things harder on yourself. And when you have all of the pieces to run what everyone else at this point is essentially running, it's another example of the Patriots just being behind in terms of adapting and adjusting to this new era of football. And I am hoping and praying this year is different with the offense.
March 15th, I think it was, 2021. Bill Belichick spent $87 million on Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. And how many times did we see the Patriots, who a decade ago ran the league with this type of stuff, run any 2 tight end sets? They wasted those contracts. And now you bring in another tight end, Mike Gesicki, and I think it's going to work. I think Mike Gesicki is going to be pretty good. And Bill O'Brien was the guy behind that offense in 2011. And Bill O'Brien and Mac Jones worked together when Mac Jones taught Bill O'Brien the Alabama playbook when O'Brien first got the job in 2021. There's a relationship there. There's a lot of factors that make this partnership between the Patriots offense and Bill O'Brien a great partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said I'm less excited for this than the defense, and that's not a shot at anyone on the offense. It's just, as we said, the defense is nearly perfect. This offense is quietly, again, this is a team that's not getting talked about a lot because of all the other exciting things going on in the division, right? You have the Bills, who have been great. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers. The Dolphins have this high-flying offense and hopefully have Tua back. And then the Patriots are just kind of there in terms of discussion and dialogue. And I think when you pair that defense with this addition of Bill O'Brien, I think adding Bill O'Brien might be as big, if not bigger, than the Jets adding Aaron Rodgers.
It's bigger. It's absolutely bigger. Well,
yeah.
For starters, Bill O'Brien doesn't inject himself with horse medicine.
That's true.
Bill O'Brien's ego is like, if the earth was Aaron Rodgers' ego, this thing that I'm holding right now would be Bill O'Brien's. The difference is so unbelievably exponential. I mean, I hate the Jets. I mean, I live in New York. I had to deal with this my whole life, where people just always talk about the Jets. People are talking about the Jets like we don't care about the Patriots now. because every time I remember last year I was listening to the radio right before the Patriots played the Jets, and it's like, all right, they're finally gonna do it. They're finally gonna beat the Patriots, and it's gonna be this amazing thing, and it's gonna feel so great. And now they get and they don't do it. We beat them twice. Now they get Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, all right, we don't care about the Patriots, but I guarantee you, Patriots week comes, they're gonna treat that game like it's a Super Bowl. And I've had to deal with that for my entire life. Back to the thing about the Patriots. If this Patriots team had a true wide receiver one, how much different would the dialogue be about this offense?
Absolutely. Yeah. If they had a legit threat that, invoked fear into people like a Tyreek Hill or a Stephon Diggs or a Garrett Wilson, the dialogue around this team, I think, would be a lot higher. Yeah. Like,
I've not been the biggest DeAndre Hopkins fan, but that would have helped this team immensely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, especially now with this idea that every young quarterback is an elite receiver away from being Josh Allen or being Jalen Hurts or whoever. And, I'm sipping the Kool-Aid with that a little bit because I'm a Bears fan and I'm hoping DJ Moore is that for Justin Fields.
Hey, Kenny Galladay is that for Daniel Jones, remember?
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, if the Patriots had a guy like that,
years ago too.
Yeah. Oh my God, Daniel Jones' discourse is horrific. That's another story.
It's not even close to as bad as Mac discourse. I'll tell you that much.
Well, no, but I mean in the opposite direction. Like people hyping up Daniel Jones scares me.
Yeah, but
there's not do that.
But like there's a loud minority there compared to
that's fair. Everybody's against Mac. I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay, that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
I think that the Patriots, like Mac Jones, obviously, there's nothing that the Patriots could do that would make him a Josh Allen level quarterback.
No,
aside from steroids.
I mean, Bill, if you're listening.
We're not the Yankees. We're not the Yankees. Anyway, but like, it does feel like these past 2 years, they have done everything possible to not help Mac Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's the most they've invested at wide receiver? Extending Devontae Parker?
Don't get me started with receiver. I mean that's
the Aguilar contract.
Oh, I want to get you started.
Worse. This is the issue, David. Okay, they let Jacoby Myers walk for 3 years, $33 million. Reported he would have taken 3 years, $30 million.
He was a double agent last year, anyway.
Well, what I'm getting to, they replaced him with Juju Smith-Schuster. To me, a clear downgrade, right? And then they also, for the same amount of money, 3 years, $33 million. And then they give the extension to Devontae Parker for 3 years, $33 million. He and Myers were on the same team. And if you ask any Patriots fan that's watched a game, you know who the better receiver was. Unless you watched Devontae Parker on a good week, which happens twice a year.
Right.
You knew it was Jacoby Myers. Myers is so underrated. It's a great signing for the Raiders at just $11 million a year, and I hate what the Patriots did to try to replace him. I think Bill Belichick realized he made a big mistake there. That one hurt. I thought this receiving core couldn't get much worse, and they might have somehow.
I don't really think it got much worse. I think that it's pretty much it's a pretty lateral move going from Myers.
He's worse than Juju. He's better than Juju. He is.
I would agree with that, but it's not like. The difference isn't crazy.
Right. I think what he lacks
if Juju had a better year than Myers, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I would have loved to keep Myers, but I could also see that moving on was probably a better decision for Myers than it was for the Patriots.
For sure.
I just reunite with McDaniels, who I have my own issues with. It worked. Like, good luck to Jacoby Myers. I love Jacoby Myers as a Patriot. He's not on the Patriots anymore. Hope he does well, but honestly, at this point, I care about, the 90 guys in the room right now.
Right.
And what these 90 guys can do. And it's not much. There's not much of a difference versus what they were doing last year at this receiver spot. Demario Douglas has been really impressive in camp. Everyone seems to be praising him and that's awesome. Tyquan Thornton, I wasn't a fan of the pick when it was made. I talked myself into it because he's fast. It's kind of the only reason I talked myself into it.
Well, I think Tyquan would work really well, again, if this team would switch to a more Shanahan-style offense, because you get Mac Jones on a bootleg and have Tyquan Thornton
But, like, here's
downfield
the
on a
thing,
post
here's
or
the thing.
something, he's going to cook.
The Patriots literally did more action with a cornerback that they drafted a round later than with their
Yeah.
second-round receiver. And
Yeah.
it worked. Marcus Jones is awesome.
Mhm.
Honestly, there was a time where I thought Marcus Jones just becoming a full-time offensive weapon would be the best move. And honestly, it makes sense in a perfect world. It's probably it probably is where he could help a team the most, but we need corners.
Right. Yeah, no, I kind of, just transitioning to the passing game there. I have some of the numbers from that as well. This is a team that, as Aidan and I pointed out, should be using play action a lot, right? Because Mac
RPOs.
Jones, RPOs, play action, the simple stuff, right? They were tied for 26th in the league in play action percentage last year. The percentage of plays that they ran play action with 19.9%. And when you have a quarterback like Mac Jones, who, as I mentioned, the reason the Shanahan smokescreen was so believable is because of how good he is off of play action, like his ability to, get off that bootleg, flip around, kind of make a quick read and get the ball out is fantastic. And when you have a guy like Tyquan Thornton who can take the top off the defense, especially if you give him that little bit of extra time on a bootleg to create some sort of separation, you can have a lot of really explosive and dynamic plays. And unfortunately, like Sam pointed out, Tyquan Thornton just wasn't used in that way last year. He got less usage than Marcus Jones. And it's tough. It's really tough. You want to see more of that from the Patriots. You want to see more creativity and explosiveness, and it's just not there. Like, this is a team last year that was 17th in average depth of target with 8.8 yards and tied for 19th in yards per attempt with 7. Yet, despite that, they were top 10 in big time throw percentage, tied for 9th with 4.2%. So when they did actually take shots down the field, it was good. Like, they did good things. It just wasn't very often, and it needs to happen more frequently. They need to try to get these chunk plays. They need to try to, be more explosive and be more exciting, for lack of a better word, because it was so stale and so bland and so uncreative. I know I've said that 15 times now, but it's the truth. It was the least creative offense in football.
The other thing about that, there was very little separation down the field. A lot of those throws down the field were tight window throws. And back to the play action stuff, they ran a little bit more play action in 2021. And even then, I felt like they weren't running enough play action. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but I have, as mentioned, I have my issues with Josh McDaniels, but I didn't realize how bad it could get.
Yeah.
I mean, the Patriots offense was basically like if you asked all the offensive coordinators what to do and just did what none of them said. There was no logic to the play calling. It just felt like Matt Patricia was going out there and, for lack of a better term, ordering off of a menu. Like he's at a fast food restaurant.
Right.
His play card was about as useful as a menu at a diner. We know they have everything at a diner. We know what Matt Patricia is going to do. It's going to be dumb shit. And he's so easily predictable because he's a defensive mind and he's not thinking on as many levels as an offensive mind because he's thinking from a defense perspective. It was a failed attempt of reverse psychology.
Yeah, it really was. Like I said at the very beginning, it was one of Belichick's experiments gone wrong, and that happens from time to time. It doesn't happen a lot. I feel like Belichick's usually pretty, he has a high hit rate when he tries to do things that are out of the box. But Matt Patricia is a part of the minority there.
And there was no chance in any world that would have worked.
All right, this might sting a little, and I apologize if it does, but what was the worst Belichick experiment, Matt Patricia or Gronk at safety?
Patricia, because
I
affected you the whole
did
season.
say Josh Gordon should have been the one back and not Gronk at that time, but yeah, Patricia. We won the Super Bowl. I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's true. I always forget that was a Patriots Super Bowl year. But like, I'm just saying, you take probably, for lack of better words, the dumbest player on your team, and you throw him out there and expect him to read the field and make a tackle. Like, what are we doing? I get it. Gronk's big.
He's probably back there in case of a Hail Mary, but we should have seen some trickery. That was too far.
Right. And even then, like Sam said, you could have
that
put literally
like the
anyone
miracle.
else.
It's I call it the Dolphin debacle.
The Dolphin debacle. I like that.
I remember at the end of the first half of that game, we had no timeouts. It was second down and goal from the 4, and there were like 20 seconds left, or like less than 20 seconds left, and Brady took a sack, and we couldn't get a field goal off.
Oof.
And then Brian Hoyer, I remember, did the exact same thing against Kansas City in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think he did it again this year
did it
against
twice,
Green Bay. Those plays, I hate those plays more than anything.
Yeah, it's definitely
dumb football.
tough. Trust me, I know all too well what dumb football looks like. I'm well acquainted with it. But unless you guys have anything else you want to add about the Patriots offense, I think we can finally, 90 minutes into this, shift to the offseason. I'm not complaining. I love how deep we went with the schematics and whatnot. It's great to talk about bad football and make fun of it.
Yeah.
I haven't gone this deep into thinking about the Patriots literally all offseason. So thank you for this.
I'm glad. Absolutely.
Because I've been so busy with basketball and baseball that like the Patriots I love the Patriots, but they've kind of been my third most important thing for a little bit now.
I mean, that's valid. It's the summer. Football's not going on.
No, I'm saying even during the season, I was watching so much college basketball, but I watched every Patriots
with how bad
game,
it was.
But I knew it was going to happen. Last game of the season, I had just driven all the way up to Albany for Sienna Ryder. That was the day of the Patriots-Bills game. And I walked into the media room at MVP Arena, and the game was on the TV. And I said, all right, let's get this over with. And first play was a kick return touchdown. I was like, all right, well, knew that was happening.
It was definitely a tough season for sure. And speaking of tough things,
the one thing that I hate was people acted like the Bills had a divine right to win that game.
Yeah. Now I have my gripes with Bills fans. I'm not gonna lie. They're a very loud, obnoxious bunch.
Yes, someone gets it. Someone gets it.
I'm not rocking with Bills Mafia, man.
I remember the offseason, like last offseason, they made everything about how much better Josh Allen was than Mac Jones. And we're like, we know.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
Like, we know.
This isn't a secret.
And it's Dolphins fans are annoying. Jets fans are annoying. Bills fans are annoying. It's just a terrible division of fans.
It really is. Like, I don't know, Dolphins fan, I guess Patriots fans I rock with the most because of how much I like Belichick, but Dolphins fans are like a close second. Jets fans are pretty hit or miss, and then Bills fans, like I said, I do not like Bills Mafia. It is the football fan base equivalent of Pat McAfee. It's just loud and obnoxious and has like frat boy energy, and I can't stand it.
The crazy thing was, I'd never met an online Jets fan until they traded for Aaron Rodgers.
They all came out of hiding.
Yep, because I know all of them in real life. Because I've lived in New York my whole life, so I've dealt with them my whole life. People hate me for some people hate me for being a Boston fan in New York, but my family's from Hartford. So. What can I say? I was born on Red Sox baseball. So anyway, I've had to deal with the Jets, the Giants, shoved down my throat my whole life, and then I get online I got online however many years ago, and I discovered how annoying Dolphins fans were and Bills fans, and oh my God. And I hate the Bills fans who act like the Bills are a New York sports team. Like, okay, they're a Buffalo team. You don't group them in with the teams that play for New York City.
That's okay. I mean, I don't have any ground to stand on here. I've never been to New York. I know nothing about New York, so I don't know
It's
who
a
claims
6-hour
what.
drive to Buffalo.
Okay, well then there you go. That gives
When
you
we
your
say
context. That
when
gives
we
me my
say the
context I
New
need.
York teams are the Jets and the Giants, we mean they represent the 20 million people in the New York City metropolitan area.
I get you. I get you. Yeah, I am also not great at geography,
Actually, the
so
20
I
million
didn't know it
minus
was a
1.
6-hour distance. No. Sam versus the world, everybody. But jumping into the offseason, starting off with free agency. Obviously, when it comes to free agency, you're going to have some additions, you're going to have some subtractions. So starting out with the guys that left, and we already talked about one of them. What loss hurt you the most? Whether it's a loss you think is going to hurt the team in terms of their play, or maybe just a player you really like that maybe wasn't great, but you had some sort of connection to. What loss hurt you the most?
Well, I already kind of talked about Jacoby Myers.
Mhm.
I don't think he's an elite alpha number one guy or anything
Right.
like that. Very much a complimentary piece, but he was the best receiver on this team. And I think he's extremely underrated. Bringing him back for 10, 11 mil a year would have been a home run to me. And just the way they went about the whole receiver position really hurt, especially considering that's just a weakness of the team. So for me, it would probably have to be Jacoby Myers, but I might be missing a big name here that Sam would definitely want to touch on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Myers is definitely something that it hit me. I didn't like it. But whatever. We move on. Damian Harris going to the Bills was pissed me off. I just didn't like that he went to the Bills.
Yeah.
But overall, I didn't think that this offseason was like this big disaster. I'm glad Jake Bailey's gone, even though he was the greatest punter of all time, however many years ago. He's now awful. I'm glad Jawan Williams is gone. But yeah, overall, I think there were some losses that we got to live with here. And losing a guy like Harris, losing a guy like Jacoby Myers. Am I forgetting? I feel like I'm forgetting someone bigger.
The only other big names I have written down, Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, and Isaiah Wynn are the only other notable names I have written down.
Isaiah Wynn is I am. When he signed with the Dolphins, that was the greatest day of my life. Total disaster.
Perhaps the name value got me with Isaiah Wynn.
No, he was genuinely a good player for a few years.
That's what. Okay.
And then he was unmitigated disaster last 2 years.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a crazy eventful offseason in terms of losses. Like some of the other names, the smaller names, cornerback Tay Hayes, kicker Quinn Norton, punter Michael Pilardi, offensive tackle Marcus Cannon, defensive tackle LeBrian Ray, Jake Bailey, as Sam mentioned, offensive tackle Yadni. I don't know how to say his last name. Kajust. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
I suck at names. I'm really bad at names.
We never saw him.
And then Brian Hoyer. Yeah. And then Brian
Super
Hoyer
Bowl champion Brian Hoyer.
Yeah. So it really wasn't a crazy free agent class in terms of guys lost. Retained guys, though, contract extensions. It was pretty eventful. You definitely had some big names there. Jonathan Jones, Jabril Peppers, Juwan Bentley, Devontae Parker, Miles Bryant, Jalen Mills, the man, the myth, the legend, Matt Slater, Carl Davis, Scotty Washington.
I have a Slater jersey too.
I love that. I respect the hell. Every Patriots fan should have a Matt Slater jersey.
Yep.
Honestly, that should be a requirement.
Yep, that was my first. That was my first jersey that I bought when they got the new jerseys.
I like
it. It was 2020, and Brady was gone, Gronk was gone, and I'm like, all right, whose jersey am I buying this year? I'm like, looks at the roster, Matthew Slater. It's like how It's like how the Ravens had Justin Tucker as their highest selling jersey for 3 years. It was there's nobody else on this roster that I would be willing to invest my money in than Matthew Slater.
That's why during my formative football years, Kyle Long was my favorite football player because the Bears had nothing. Granted, Kyle Long was damn good when he was healthy, but some of the other guys that got kept around, Raekwon McMillan, who I believe is on injured reserve now.
Yeah, correct.
Unfortunately. Mac Wilson, James Ferentz, the defensive tackle that Sam mentioned earlier is the most random. No, the other one.
Oh, Carl Davis.
Ekuale.
Daniel Ukulele.
Ekuale.
Yeah.
Ekuale. There you go.
Again,
Daniel
this is the
Ekuale.
point where we can just keep naming random
Yeah.
defensive tackles that step in and be solid performers. I mean,
Mhm.
Ekuale has been really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at him a little bit. You're hyping him up, and I don't remember
Like,
watching much of him.
I've always thought, like, this guy's solid when I watch him.
It's fine.
What number does he wear?
I think honestly, I don't even remember. It's been so long.
Because there was a
Like
guy when I
90
was watching the Patriots defense this morning that
oh,
kept jumping
95?
out.
Yeah, 95.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, that was him. Yeah, because I remember there was a 95. I didn't bother looking it up
I was
because
gonna
that
say
was
it's either
like
95 or 96, and yeah, it's 95.
yeah. There was someone that kept jumping out, making random splash plays here and there, and just being overall solid. And I was like, who the fuck is this? And I couldn't pinpoint it. I didn't bother looking it up, but it was him. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see why you're Daniel Ekuale's strongest soldier, I would say. I get it.
One
get
of
the
the
hype.
strongest soldiers. There's actually a fan club.
Really?
A couple of people that I
love that.
know on Twitter are fans of his.
I love that. But yeah, that's it for retained players. Going over to additions, obviously we already talked about Zeke. Juju got brought in as kind of the Jacoby Myers replacement. And I agree with Aidan. He's not as good of a pass catcher. He's not as good as like a receiver. But I think what he lacks in receiving ability, he adds in his run blocking and kind of the more grittier, dirtier stuff that Belichick, traditionally asks his receivers to do. So while he's not going to be as good as Jacoby, I do think there's a world where Juju has still a pretty solid impact and fills at least some of the void left behind by Myers. I don't think it's going to be a complete wash or anything. And then beyond that, Mike Gesicki, obviously, like Sam mentioned early on, you're going to get to go back to that 2 tight end offense that the Patriots used to run, where Hunter Henry is going to be more of your Y inline tight end, and then Gesicki is going to do a little bit of moving, maybe even play a little slot receiver, because Lord knows if you line Gesicki up as a traditional tight end, you're probably wasting him a little bit because that's just not his game. Riley Reif, the textbook definition of a Band-Aid at right tackle, going to be the starter this year, was supposed to be that for the Bears and then got hurt. And that's the other thing. You got to hope he can stay healthy. And then some other names, offensive tackle Calvin Anderson, the man who threw it on a dime himself, Trace McSorley, tight end Anthony Fursker, left guard Chris Board, and then punter Corliss Waitman. So not a lot of crazy moves in free agency.
Anthony Fursker being a Patriot is such a wild circle of life type thing, because do you remember the game against the Titans in the playoffs?
The Brady's last game?
Yes.
I do. Yeah.
Do you remember who caught a touchdown in that game?
Did Fursker have a touchdown in that game?
I'm like 99% sure. Because there was a tweet that was Patriots dynasty ends on Tannehill to Fursker.
God, what a pair. What a duo to end the Brady run in New England. Ryan Tannehill and Anthony
Yeah, it's from
Fursker.
Peter Schrager. I'll send it to you right now.
That's crazy, man. I can't even fathom that. Yeah, could the Patriots dynasty really end on Tannehill to Fursker? That's... Oh my goodness. I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's tough.
He probably won't do anything for the Patriots. Let's be honest here.
Probably not. But some players that will impact the Patriots, obviously, are going to be their draft picks. The Patriots had a lot of them. And this is very much a Bill Belichick draft. Some defense early on, some late rounds, small school guys that most people have probably never heard of. So I already know Sam's answer to this. But who is your favorite draft pick from the Patriots this year?
Oh God. I'm gonna steer away from the top 3 guys because we've talked about them so much.
Mm-hmm.
I did love the Keyshawn Butte pick. Granted, Demario Douglas has outplayed him so far, but I just thought Butte, with all his freshman production in the SEC and how hyped up he was, that's a good 6th-round dart throw. But it would probably have to be one of these offensive linemen they took, in the round 4 or 5 range between City So, Jake Andrews, and Antonio Mafe. I thought all 3 were great picks. Jake Andrews is going to be the developmental successor, hopefully, to David Andrews. And I thought he was a good enough prospect to potentially develop into that and has that upside to be a decent starter. In City So and Antonio Mafi, I thought should have probably been like 3rd round picks, early 4th rounders. And the Patriots got them in 4th, 5th round. The interior of the offensive line is already a strength for them, but I'm all about just get value. There's no need to be picking for positional need. Just get the value guys on the board. That's where the value was. And I feel amazing about the interior offensive line moving forward for these next couple of years.
All right, I've got one. Bryce Behringer.
Oh, okay. You're not going to go praise your boy Mapu?
Well, all right. I've done enough of that.
Okay.
I've done
fair.
enough of that.
Okay.
Do you know how bad the Patriots punting was last year?
I can't say I do.
Terrible.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't watch their punter.
Jake Bailey had like how many punts blocked? Then Michael Pallardy came in and was not better. Do you know who led college football last year in net yards per punt?
I'm going to assume the guy the Patriots drafted.
It was Bryce Behringer at Michigan State. 45.7 yards per punt.
Damn.
Net yards per punt.
That's okay. I apologize. I was unfamiliar with his game. That's something.
24 of his 50 punts inside the 20. 0 punts blocked. Now, he did have 4 touchbacks, which is a little bit more than I would want, but it's still not that many.
Yeah. I didn't expect to be blown away by a punter stat coming on here, but I should have known better.
I'm telling you, Bryce Behringer, and they got the kicker from Maryland.
Yeah, how do you feel about Chad Ryland? I was just about to ask.
I saw a video of him hitting like a 60-yarder in warm-ups, and I'm like, all right, this is the kicker. Enough with Nick Folk.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Chad Ryland, 87.1 field goal grade from PFF last year. He only attempted 20 field goals, and yeah, he missed a bunch of them, but 3 of the 4 misses were from 50 plus, and he made 3 from 50 plus. That's been Nick Folk's issue. There's an invisible wall at the 40-yard line. He cannot make a kick of 50 yards of more than 50 yards. It is physically impossible. But literally everything inside of 50, he has never missed once.
Yeah.
It's like a light switch. The greatest dichotomy in the history of kicking. Like, it's not even like it's 56 yards. And every single time it's short. Every single time. But from 49 yards, he'll kick it good from 55. It makes no sense.
It's like I said, kicking's all mental.
And I like Nick Folk because he made a couple game winners for us a couple years ago. Never was really bad.
Yeah. But looking back at the Patriots draft class, my favorite pick from you guys was Christian Gonzalez, but we've already talked plenty about him. So another guy that I'm a big fan of, Sam has already mentioned, is Demario Douglas from Liberty. And I know Kayshon Boutte was like the big name out of the receivers in this class, but as Aidan already pointed out, he's being outplayed by Demario Douglas. As a playmaker and as someone like after the catch, and even as a route runner, he's impossible to catch. He's like a little... You know when you got like a mouse running across the floor and you're trying to get rid of it and you can't get it? That's what he runs like. It's the same vibe. And again, we were talking about this offense lacking dynamism, lacking explosiveness. And I think Demario Douglas can be that explosive piece in the Patriots offense. Because, I mean, it should be Tyquan Thornton, but with the snaps he was getting compared to Marcus freaking Jones, part of me thinks the Patriots might not trust him. So if they don't like him, if they don't think he's the explosive little dynamic piece in their offense, then it can absolutely be Demario Douglas. I think he can be a fantastic gadget guy for them. I think he can be super fun. And I think you can take a lot of shots downfield with him, just, beating guys downfield and not having to worry about, as Sam pointed out earlier, all these contested catches and all these 50-50 balls that they were having to throw last year because they could not create separation.
Yeah, Liberty relied a lot on Demario Douglas last year.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite college team, UConn, played against Liberty last year at the Rent late in the season. It was the greatest moment when UConn won that game. It was the greatest moment in the last 10 years of UConn It was the greatest moment since the Fiesta Bowl. So 2011, it was the best moment in 12 years, 10 years, 11 years. Oh my God. And they had 13 targets to Demario Douglas in that game. They relied so heavily on him. It just felt like, and we played Zay Flowers the week before that in BC and totally shut him down. Also, BC's starting quarterback got hurt, and that was. But like Demario Douglas was all over the place. I mean,
yeah,
they were throwing everything to him because they had to.
Yeah, he's a slippery little bastard. I mean, it's really hard to get your hands on him. And obviously, if you do, he's going to get shut down because he's small. He's not like, fighting through a press or anything like that. But that's a big if. That's a really, really big if.
He had 66 yards after the catch in that game.
Damn. How many yards did he have total?
72.
Damn.
Jeez.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Like, the Patriots need a dynamic playmaker like that.
Yep.
Marcus Jones is great. You can't rely on a corner to run routes downfield. You need a Demario Douglas.
And he's a 5'8" guy that can be reliable moving the sticks and reliable down the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, him doing it at Liberty is a lot different from him doing it in the NFL.
Sure.
And I think he's a wide receiver 4, 5, 6 for this team.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah, you're not asking to be Superman. You're asking for 1, maybe 2 plays a game where he does something really cool, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, give him more PT." And then he just
the Isaiah Zuber role. I still wish they gave Isaiah Zuber a real shot. He had like 4 touches in the NFL, and they all went for more than 10 yards.
Sounds like a lot of untapped potential, honestly. I can see why you wanted him to get more touches.
That was the 2020 Patriots, the Cam Newton Patriots. Like, what did we have to lose? Our other options on offense were literally just Cam Newton running the football, or Cam Newton throwing a pick, or 72-year-old Julian Edelman dropping a pass.
Damiere Byrd.
Yes, Damiere Byrd, the one
Patriots
touchdown
legend.
he had all year, and then he dropped the one against Buffalo.
You guys remember when Damiere Byrd had the most insane yet pointless 2-point conversion catch for the Bears?
Yeah, I think I do.
When it was in the back of the end zone over like 3 defenders from Nick Foles.
I'll always be a Damiere Byrd guy.
I will too because of that play. He's in Atlanta now, I think.
I don't know, maybe if that'll be my guess, but
I think he's in Atlanta.
There's a chance he was in the USFL or something. Honestly,
no, he's on an NFL team right now.
Really?
I remember I talked about him in one of these videos, but I can't remember which
Falcons.
one. I think it's Atlanta. Yeah,
like his 11th stint with the Falcons now. No, he was with the Falcons for the first time last year.
No, I think he's with the Panthers.
Oh, that's right. He is. No,
he's
he was with the Panthers. He was with the Panthers before he was with the Patriots.
But I think he's back with the Panthers.
Is he?
I think.
Yes, he is.
Okay. I knew he was in the NFC South somewhere. But anyways, moving off of Damiere Byrd discourse, as much as I'm sure everyone out there loves that.
If you're still watching right now,
I love you.
You deserve the Damiere Byrd discourse.
You do. Honestly, we've talked about the wing tee. We've talked about fullbacks. We've talked about Liberty's offense. We've talked about quite a few things that are a little bit out there. But that's the beauty of these shows because I'm not here.
By the way, we haven't mentioned Kendrick Bourne's name.
Oh yeah,
Kendrick Bourne. Been the most dynamic receiver the last 2 years, and we haven't mentioned his name. Yeah,
because despite being the Patriots' most dynamic receiver the last 2 years, it feels like it's not used enough. Yeah.
Doghouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's what I love about these videos because I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm some professional. I'm willing to go off topic. I'm willing to go on tangents. I'm willing to goof around because it's fun. It makes for a more fun conversation. But anyways, a player that I think is kind of polarizing is the best way to put it, in my opinion, is Keion White, the tweener, edge rusher, defensive tackle, whatever you want to call him, from Georgia Tech. Because there were some people saying he should go as high as the first round. Obviously, he kind of made waves on Twitter when he got invited to day 1 of the NFL draft, and people were like, why is he there? And then some people like myself thought he was more of like a round 3, maybe round 4 guy. So now I'm curious, where did you guys have him? Were you guys fans? Are you happy with the pick, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't quite getting behind the round 1 buzz, but I did have him as like a good day 2 on the round 2 to 3 fringe. Older prospect that's still pretty raw technically, but man, this is a great landing spot for him because the Patriots
sure.
love to move these guys around the defensive line. Keon White, certainly a versatile piece and also just insane athletically. So it's the same thing, we talk about with Christian Gonzalez. Bill Belichick's specialty is really these cornerbacks. So Gonzalez is set up for so much success with his size and athleticism, Belichick coaching him up. But they also have a pretty good track record with these edge guys. And Keon White has all the tools necessary in the toolbox to be an awesome, awesome player. It's just, again, raw technically, but the Patriots are great at coaching that stuff up.
I didn't really do a ton of draft stuff this year, so I wasn't super familiar with Keon White. He's a little bit older. He's been playing college ball for a while, but he's gigantic. He's like 6'5", 290, and he can do a lot of things athletically that a lot of guys can't do. And that's the key here. You're not asking Keon White to come in and be like a superstar edge rusher. You're just asking him to do the things that fill in the cracks of this roster. Because the Patriots, we always talk about running back by committee with the Patriots. But I think the thing about the Patriots that I've noticed over the years is that it's defensive line by committee. They've always had a deep defensive line when the teams are good. And it's because there's guys that complement each other so well. And Keon White, this is a guy that will come in and do his job. And for lack of a better word, I mean, he plays with intensity. And at that size, playing with aggression and energy, you're not looking at one of the best players in the league, but you're looking at a really quality role player. And that's what you need out of the second round. This first round is where you get your stars, and then you just build quality role players. And honestly, if you get a quality role player in the first round, that's not a bad thing. The Patriots did with Cole Strange, quality role player. Probably a reach based on where he would have gone in the draft, but quality role player. And if you have a couple stars and a lot of quality role players, you're going to win the Super Bowl. And that's why the Patriots were so good for so many years, because the roster depth was a constant cycle of really good role players that were used at their maximum capability for so many years. And the system fit all those players so well because the system was built around different types of role players that could do different things. It's not built around the fact that you need Chris Jones to be incredible every single play, like the Chiefs defense needs.
Right.
It's built around the fact that you could sub in different looks and say, all right, we'll have this group of linemen, and then we'll sub these two guys out on third down and these two guys out on second and short. But if there's a holding penalty and it's 1st and 20, we'll go to this look. And that's something that the Patriots did so well during the dynasty years, where they were able to keep a constant flow of talented role players that knew what their job was. It's where the do your job moniker comes from. And obviously the Patriots are nowhere close to what they were in the dynasty years, but Keon White is a heck of a quality role player.
Yeah, that I can get behind. Like I said, I think a lot of my, not quite disdain, but kind of like my lack of excitement for Keon White really came from some of the discourse surrounding him, right? Like Aidan said, first round hype was way too much. But I do think as not only a role player, but specifically a role player for Bill Belichick, because we've seen him take guys like this before and make it work, right? This is a situation where I feel like Keon White needed to land in New England. So yeah, you've got this athletic tweener who, as Sam mentioned, will do his job. And that's all he needs. He doesn't need to be a world beater. He doesn't even need to be a starting caliber player. He just needs to come in, give them a fresh set of legs, try to beat a guy around the edge, or, do whatever with his athletic ability. And that's enough. That's all he needs to do. Now, I will say something I'm really needing Belichick to do, and I'm sure he can because he's Bill freaking Belichick. but the amount of times Keon White just watched people run by him through gaps in college made me want to smash my face off a wall. It was so incredibly frustrating to watch this man defend the run. And call me old school, but a defensive lineman needs to be able to defend the run to a certain degree. At the very least, he needs to not let them run by him when he has a chance to reach an arm out or move and get a hold of them. Because his awareness and his gap discipline and his ability to diagnose the run did not exist. Now, I won't deny that he's a freak athlete and a pretty okay pass rusher that has upside, but oh my God, his run defending, again, made me want to smash my face off of a wall. That is the best way I can describe it. It was the most frustrating thing in the world. There were moments, maybe I'm being a little bit dramatic here, but there were moments where I would have to set my headphones down, get up, walk away, and take a breather while I was watching this man try to defend the run, because it made me so internally just infuriated with how poor he was at doing so. And Aidan's laughing. I'm sure he's seen what I'm talking about. It's really bad.
And I thought, and that's the thing. I thought that like he looked really good at that in the preseason. And
well, good. I haven't watched any of the Patriots preseason
it looked
games,
like he took, and yeah, there's flaws. He's not a perfect player. He
absolutely, yeah. Nobody.
I mean,
is.
I didn't watch a ton of him, but I knew a lot of people that were watching a lot more draft stuff, and I got a lot of conflicting opinions. This guy stinks. He'll never be able to defend the run, and he's not flexible enough for this or that. And then some guys like this guy, you get him in the right lab, you get him working on this type of action or this move or that, and he'll be a stud. There's so many differing opinions on him. Yeah. And I think that Bill Belichick's opinion is the one that matters, because Bill Belichick is the one that has the development plan.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've thought about more in a baseball sense, where it's like you'll draft a pitcher and like, here's your idea for developing him. You're going to give him this cutter, this slider, because you think that this fastball works best with those pitches. That's the Keon White effect. That's the key. That you bring that to football and you get Keon White. You need to give him this diet, this routine of run stop, this routine of whatever, and you'll get him to be a solid player where you need him to be.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing for me. Like, I know he has made a lot of questionable decisions, but I'm not one to question Belichick typically. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's like the football equivalent of being a bootlicker, but like it's just not something I do, because more oftentimes than not, he's right and I'm wrong. If there's one person that knows this sport better than I do, and I know that for a fact, it's Bill Belichick. That sounded a little arrogant. There's a lot of people that know this sport better than I do, but Bill Belichick's at the top of the list is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, like, and look, there's a lot of things that Bill Belichick has lost trust from me on.
Sure.
But molding an athlete into a capable football player is not one of the things that he's lost my trust with.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. The stuff that Keon White struggles with, it's up here, right? The things that are really holding him back, at least for me, are up here. And Belichick has to be the greatest teacher that the NFL has ever seen. If anyone's going to sit him down in the film room and make him learn how to read a gap until his eyes roll in the back of his head and he starts seizing on the floor, it's Bill freaking Belichick. Maybe that was a bit of a graphic description, but it's the truth. Like, Belichick is hardcore when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's not going to trot out a defensive lineman that has no idea what he's doing when it comes to defending the run, because that's not his MO. If there's one thing Belichick is, it's old school. And if you're old school, you want defensive linemen that can at least hold their own against the run.
I remember a couple of years ago, the Patriots drafted two defensive players that I was very excited about. I had them ranked 50 and 51 in my rankings. They drafted them in the 3rd and 6th rounds. Ronnie Perkins and Cameron Grown. They've played a combined one game in the NFL, and it was not for the Patriots.
Yeah.
So yeah, Belichick saw those guys were I was higher on him. I was higher on those guys than the NFL was. And Belichick had a reason to go after them. His development plan didn't work. And here we are with Keon White, hoping the development plan works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Dietrich Wise was a mid-round pick, and he turned into a really solid player for a lot of years. like if Keon White becomes a Dietrich Wise type, where he's just he's got the size to do it. That's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's not the most inspiring name out there, but that's a second contract. Guy worth a second, maybe even third contract.
Now, I know I said I didn't want to talk more about Christian Gonzalez, but I do want to bring something up because this is an agenda almost that I've been brewing. And I kind of want to launch it here because I feel like it's appropriate. We just witnessed the greatest rookie season a cornerback has ever had in Sauce Gardner. I think Christian Gonzalez is going to top it.
No way.
I have a gut feeling.
I think you're
maybe I am. Okay. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I am so confident in Gonzalez.
Dude, Night Train Lane had 14 interceptions as a rookie.
Okay, well then in the modern era, let's put it that way. Because much love to Night Train Lane. I love my old players, but we'll say in the modern era. Right. I'll put it this way. My main point here is he's going to have a better season than Sauce just had, is what I'm trying to put together there.
I would be very surprised because Sauce Gardner is the coolest dude in football.
I don't disagree. That's not disrespect to Sauce or anything.
I hate the Jets more than anything. But Sauce Gardner, he's got my respect.
And I mean,
if Christian Gonzalez comes anywhere close to the season that Sauce Gardner had, the Patriots probably make the playoffs.
Yeah. Because look, here's the thing. To me, Christian Gonzalez is near perfect. Like there's not a single thing in his game that jumps out at me like, okay, that's an issue. That needs to improve. He's got the size. He's got the athletic abilities. Like he was built in a freaking lab. He's super smart. He's great in man coverage. He's great in zone coverage. His ball skills are good enough. Like there's nothing that jumps out at me that's really bad about him. And then you throw that to Bill Belichick, who, as Sam mentioned, is like the CB guru, right? He always makes his corners look better than they are. And
unless their initials are MB.
Okay, there's always an exception to the rule. But for the most part, thankfully, this guy's initials are CG, so we're fine.
I'm trying to think, has there been like a good corner for us that was MB before this guy? Oh my God, yes, there was one! Malcolm Butler!
Yeah. Yeah. So even then, he's got a 50% success rate. He's 1 for 2. But the point is, like I said, you give Belichick a corner that was essentially made in a lab to play football, is super smart, and doesn't have any true weaknesses to his game. And I don't see a world where this kid isn't a superstar. Like by the end of the year, I don't see a world where he's not at least a top 5 corner or in the top 5 corner conversations, unless something goes catastrophically wrong and he gets hurt, which knock on wood, hope to God doesn't happen. But if he's healthy the whole year and is seeing legitimate snaps as a Patriot, which I doubt there's a world where he's not, the CB1, CB2 right away, then I don't see a world where he's not a world beater. I don't see a world where he's not the front runner for defensive rookie of the year and blowing everybody's minds and getting the same type of attention and hype that Sauce was getting. It's just,
I'm telling you, he will not get that. He will not get that hype because people will put it all on Belichick.
Okay, fair. That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
They do it every time. Every time the Patriots have a good player, it's because of Belichick, according to people.
Let me rephrase then.
The Patriots have never had a good player, according to NFL Twitter.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that. To the people who aren't just pushing agendas to slander the Patriots, anyone who's actually watching the games and paying attention, I don't see a world where Christian Gonzalez is not held in the same regard in their minds as Sauce Gardner. And like I said, I know that's a bold take. Your reactions were about what I expected. But this is a hill I'm willing to die on because I am that high on Christian Gonzalez.
I would be very surprised, but
then again,
that's probably going to become my take within the next few days.
Fair. Also, as a disclaimer, just remember this is coming from a guy whose number 1 player on his big board was a fullback, so take that as you will.
Positional value is the most important thing for you.
Positional value isn't real.
Fullback. Hey, fullbacks
Hey.
deserve more money than quarterbacks.
Real. Unironically, yeah.
Hey, you're talking to a James Devlin super fan here, okay?
I love it. I love it. I miss James Devlin, man.
We all do. We all do.
He was such a stud. God.
Oh my God. He literally won us a Super Bowl single-handedly.
Yeah. People don't realize what a good fullback can do for you. I mean, again, another crazy take. Not
literally made a career off of running behind James Devlin.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And this is another crazy thing that I have said. I'm not afraid. Like this offseason, I've just said, fuck it. I don't care. I made a video the other day. I pulled a clip from the 49ers, one of these I did. And again, not Patriots related, but just to give you an idea of where my brain's at. I unironically believe that Kyle Juszczyk is more important to the San Francisco 49ers offense than whoever they have at quarterback.
What if Kyle Juszczyk was the quarterback?
Well, then you're opening up Pandora's box, and I think my brain would explode.
Right? I'm not sure that they wouldn't be shoo-ins to win the NFC.
Oh, absolutely. Super Bowl. That's an all-time offense.
It's going to be hard to beat Christian Gonzalez in the big game, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, man. Imagine a world where Kyle Juszczyk throws a pick to Christian Gonzalez in the Super Bowl. What I would be going through internally. Nothing worse than having your agendas collide.
Oh, my God.
No, but like, genuinely speaking, I think Gonzalez is going to be incredible. And even if my expectations are a little too lofty for him his rookie year, within the next few years, he'll be one of the 3 to 5 best corners in football. I'm just expecting a big breakout right away.
I mean, I think he's going to be a stud right now. Is he going to be as good as you're saying? Probably not, but it's a real CB1, which is something that is so badly needed in a division with Garrett Wilson, with Stephon Diggs, with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
And that's kind of my only concern with it, is the receivers he's going to have to go up against twice a year might hurt that a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, but if you look at the rest of the schedule, it's his first game in the NFL. Welcome to the NFL. Here's A.J. Brown. Welcome to the NFL. Here's Tyreek Hill. Welcome to the NFL. Here's Garrett Wilson. Now here's CeeDee Lamb. And then maybe, if he's still alive by then, here's Michael Thomas.
Chris Olave.
Oh, Devontae Adams then. Oh, wonderful.
It's all unraveling.
The first time they don't face an elite receiver, and I'm pretty sure this team doesn't have an elite receiver. Yeah, they don't. The first time that they face a team that doesn't have an elite receiver is November 12th against Indianapolis.
Michael Pittman.
Oh no, Michael Pittman's going to moss him and it's all going to fall apart.
Michael Pittman's awesome.
And then they play
even worse, Josh Downs is going to torch him at some point. And my agendas are really going to collide because I love Josh Downs.
The first 9 games of the season are A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb.
I don't care.
Michael Thomas / Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Terry McLaurin.
I'm not backing down. He's going to get put through the fucking ringer, but I don't care. I'm standing strong.
If he comes out of that with a Darrelle Revis graphic, that's going to be like my home screen on my computer.
Gonzo Island, baby. Tell me that doesn't go crazy.
Oh, man, it goes crazy.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to compare him to, like, give him the sauce narratives and whatnot when his name isn't as cool. Like, Gonzalez and Gonzo are cool, but sauce, kind of
sauce is pretty bad.
Kind of trumps. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the leading factor in why he's the coolest dude in the NFL.
Well, second coolest.
I was at the Patriots Jets game at MetLife last year, and there were people there wearing Zach Wilson jerseys, and I was like, why would anyone choose to wear a jersey? Like, why would anyone? That's a Jets fan. You have the coolest player in the sport on your team, and you're wearing the jersey of a Mormon quarterback who can't throw the ball.
There are 3 players on the Jets you should reasonably wear a jersey of. It's
there's one.
No, listen, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall got to get their roses too.
I don't mind like But okay, if Sauce Gardner's not on the team, sure.
Quinton Williams.
If you want to do the whole switching off jerseys
I
for
almost forgot
offensive
about
drives
Quinton.
and defensive drives, fine. But like Sauce Gardner's on your team. He's the coolest dude in the league. It's the only nice thing I have to say about anybody in the division.
Second coolest. Kyle Juszczyk is number one. Okay, nobody is cooler than Kyle Juszczyk. A Harvard tight end turned fullback that does wrestling moves as celebrations.
He's awesome. Yeah, Juszczyk's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love Kyle Juszczyk. God, that is my dream right there. I want to shake Kyle Juszczyk's hand. That is what this is all for. Trying to get into sports media, it's just so I can shake Kyle Juszczyk's hand. No other reason. But since we already started talking about it a little bit, looking forward to next year, I guess this year, since we're like a month out from the season, what are your expectations for this team in terms of record? And you can give me either a flat prediction or your ceiling and floor. And then what player are you the most excited to watch?
I'll go. Look, I think with this team going 8-9 last year and Belichick as the head coach, it's tough to see them losing more than 9 games. But I do still think I would say their floor is 7 wins, but that's a low floor. I'd be honestly a little surprised, but it's in the range of outcomes. I think their ceiling is 10 wins. I think anything above that, I would be pretty surprised just because their schedule's so hard. I completely believe they're a better team than they were last year. Still great defensively. Special teams can't get much worse. Offensively, they're going to take a step up, but they went 8-9 last year. The schedule is just really, really difficult. So I think, their floor 7 wins, ceiling is about 10.
That's fair.
The only thing that gives me pause about this team is the schedule.
Sure.
It's brutal.
It's tough.
It's totally brutal. I mean, even like the easy games, there's no more gimmies in the division. I mean, as much as I think that the Jets are going to implode and miss the playoffs, I mean, I think that there's not a gimme. I mean, Dallas and Philly within the first 4 weeks. Got to go back to Vegas and face Belichick's like 0 for the century against his former assistants.
Sure.
So that's a thing. Got to face Kansas City. Got to go to Pittsburgh. That's always a tough place to play, especially in December. I mean, I swear we never play against Pittsburgh at home. We're always going to Pittsburgh.
Feels
like I think 2019 we had Pittsburgh at home, but 17, 18, 22, and 23 we have them on the road. So that's tough. I mean, Washington's not good, but it's not a gimme game. The Giants are not good, but again, not a gimme game. Denver's not a gimme game because who knows what they'll be.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans is probably like the most gimme of all the games on the schedule, but even then, it's not really a gimme game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I saw like Patriots are only favored in like 3 games or something like that. Like, it makes sense. I mean, they're going to win more than 3 games, but like, I'm not going to go into a ton of weeks saying we're definitely winning this week.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of weeks where I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. You know what? They're going to play good teams close. They're going to play bad teams close.
Yep.
Because that's what we've learned that the Patriots do over the last few years. The only team they get blown out by is Buffalo.
Yes. True.
They play them,
and they blow out the Chargers.
Yes. Well, okay. The last time they played the Chargers, it wasn't a blowout, but Herbert was a total disaster.
Yeah.
The pick 6 to Adrian Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Herbert padded his stats in that game with a late touchdown drive. I remember that. And Jerry Tillery killed Mac Jones after the whistle. That was
Jerry Tillery's one career highlight.
No, and it was after the whistle. It was.
But let's be real.
And they didn't call a penalty. It was. He didn't do anything in that game.
Well, not in that game, but that's just the universe.
I think that was before the Brian Burns thing.
Oh no, maybe that's Max Villain origin story then. One late hit from Jerry Tillery made him hate every defender in the league.
That's kind of based.
I mean, it kind of is. Yeah, if I got hit late by Jerry Tillery, I'd
Was
be
that
pretty mad
before
too.
It might have been the week after. No, it was the week before the Brian Burns thing.
That's what it is. It flipped a switch in Mac's mind. He grew a distinct hatred for defensive players.
I also remember J.C. Jackson had a pick 6 against Darnold in the Panthers game that year. The same game as the Brian Burns thing. And I think it was Greg Gumbel on the call. He's like, "This is Justin Bethel." Like Justin Bethel's a special teamer and J.C. Jackson's an all-pro, and he thinks Justin Bethel's the one that had the pick 6.
Justin Bethel, that's a name I haven't heard in years.
He was a decent special teamer for us for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we didn't get to talk about any of the special teamers really, aside from.
I mean, if you
Slater.
want to,
I mean,
by all means.
Brandon Schooler is a human. Cody Davis has been pretty good for a few years.
CJ Board's going to be Chris Board's going to be awesome.
Yeah, Chris Board. He's gotten hype at times. But yeah, I think there's a bunch of dudes on here that could be interesting special teamers.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, 7-10 to 9-8 is like the window. It's a very small window, but like again, if you told me they finished 5-12, you told me they finished 10-7, I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of games could go either way. If this team is in the NFC North, NFC South, they win those divisions.
That's about it.
And I'm quite confident they make the playoffs out of the AFC South.
They don't beat the Jags, though, I don't think.
I'm not as high on the Jags as a lot of people.
Yeah.
I just kind of think that it's a little too good to be true with the Jags. I think they're going to be good, but they're not going to win 12 games. I think they're the Patriots would be a playoff team in the NFC, no doubt about it. They would win. They would pillage the NFC North. Sorry, they pillage the South. They do well in the North too, but it's just a fact of, hey, go out and try winning a Super Bowl when the other quarterbacks in your conference are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, to give it an analogy, you've got like a slice of butter bread and everyone else has a perfectly well done steak. Well done's not the right term, but like a perfect steak.
Well done is not a good steak.
That was the wrong way to put it. I just meant
well done steak is what Russell Wilson is at this point. Just cooked.
That's rude. That is rude, but true. No, the point is better way to put it. You've got a Subaru, everyone else has a Maserati.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's probably a better way.
Subaru's not there's nothing wrong with a Subaru.
No, there's nothing inherently wrong with a Subaru.
And it's not like we could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have traded up, but when is he ever going to do that?
Right.
No, he traded down and got to steal the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
I just think my hope for this team is that they're watchable. And I think that's going to happen.
Oh, they'll be watchable. I don't see a world where they're not watchable.
My other hope is that the Jets, Bills, and Raiders all fail.
Josh McDaniels. I was going to ask why the Raiders, but I get it.
I'd like to see the Dolphins fail, but there's no Super Bowl hype for them anyway at this point with Ramsey and Armstead. If the Jets miss the playoffs and the Super Bowl winner is not the Bills or the Dolphins, unless the Patriots go 4-13, it's a successful season.
That's fair.
Because we're basically at the point where I'm just hoping our rivals suck.
I know that feeling all too well. Just praying on everybody else's downfall.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
It's not our fault though. We ran the division for a while and we ended up in a position where we didn't have as much talent as everyone else.
Yeah. You had Cam Newton at quarterback after Carolina like that.
He was good. He was good pre-COVID though.
Yeah.
And then he was horrible.
Nobody remembers pre-COVID Cam though, unfortunately. It's all about post-COVID Cam. For me, I gotta agree. I think this is gonna be no matter what a middle of the pack team, if not an above average team. Like at worst, I think 7 wins is very reasonable. But I'm gonna go a step further. I'm gonna say they could win upwards of 11 games. I mean, it's a really tough schedule, but I just have a lot of faith in that defense.
Does this include multiple full team plane crashes?
It's literally one more game than you guys said.
I said like
As a
you said
ceiling.
upwards of 11. I said 10 is like pushing it.
Oh, okay. Well, one more than what Aidan said. Aidan said his absolute ceiling is 10.
I mean, like
I think
10,
the
like,
absolute
I
ceiling
wouldn't
is
be
11.
I wouldn't be totally shocked at 10, but like you said upwards of 11.
I worded it poorly. Okay. My bad. They could win up to 11 games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've seen like
You keep tripping me up on my damn words. I told you my brain's not braining
discourse
today.
around the Patriots. Honestly, it's been a lot more positive from like NFL, from like creators around the NFL. Like I saw Theo was really positive and optimistic, and I was like, man, maybe I'm not thinking about this as much as I should.
It's that defense.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's the defense, and it's Bill O'Brien being competent.
It just felt like every game was a slog last year. Every game was just torture to watch.
Yeah.
Because it was painful how they were just so obviously missing the mark.
Yeah. It was definitely tough. But second half of that question, what player are you guys most excited to watch next year?
Man, I almost forgot about that question. I will say, like, there are so many players I'm more excited to watch, but I do think that there's one breakout player on the offensive side of the ball. I do think Cole Strange is going to be going to be their breakout player offensively, because I know there's so many options defensively, so many guys that we love to talk about. I really like Cole Strange. I do. Mike Onwenu's like the guy on their offensive line. I think he's been playing at a Pro Bowl level, but Strange, I get it. You want to say he was a reach, but he's a really good prospect. And I think next year in more of a zone running scheme, like it was just a disaster last year. And he also struggled while David Andrews was out of the lineup. So if Andrews stays healthy, they kind of switch the scheme a little bit. He's entering year 2. I think Strange is going to be like really, really good next year.
Yeah, like the thing about Strange was like, I wasn't pleased with the pick, but like I woke up the next morning and said, all right, we're going to have a solid lineman that fills a need.
Yep.
And that's all we needed. And he's going to be that. I would say the player that I'm most excited to see, I mean, it's hard for me not to say Uche, Barmore, and Kyle Duggar are like this, like they are the future, and obviously Gonzo too. Like this is the core defensive guys that are like on the precipice, and I think they could all be Pro Bowlers.
Yeah,
I mean, I said Duggar should have been a Pro Bowler last year. Uche probably should have been if he got more run. Barmore, if he were healthy, he would have been. So, like, this is 3 Pro Bowl caliber dudes out there. And I think none of them get enough respect around the league.
No, they really, especially not Duggar, man. I mean, I don't like to use the term underrated too much because it gets overused and then players become overrated. But Duggar is legitimately an underrated defensive football player. He does not get nearly enough credit for how not only integral he is to the Patriots defense, but how unique and how exciting and how just smart he is.
It feels like he's everywhere. Like you watch the games and you realize this guy's everywhere. And then you watch the All-22 and you're like, okay, yeah, he really is everywhere. They're lining him up everywhere and he's doing everything. And this dude's a stud.
Like realistically, how many safeties in the league can you see go head to head with a guard pulling and think, okay, he's fine? Like he's got, exactly. Right. It's insane what he brings to the table. And that was actually going to be my answer. But since you brought him up, I'm going to go a different route. Someone that we mentioned towards the beginning and haven't talked about much since, and that's Ramondre Stevenson, who I kind of have a love-hate relationship with because he's so good and I love watching him. But the moment he said, I like this offense better because I'm not running behind a fullback, broke my heart. Because, like, I get it. Everybody's different.
Oh, man.
He has his preferences. But, I mean, I had a lot of hope for the guy. I think he played a little bit of fullback in college, if I'm not mistaken.
He was
like,
a big back in college, and
yeah,
they had a smaller guy too. I forget his name.
yeah. He
Eric
was the
Gray.
chosen one.
Was that his name?
That might be a little before Eric Gray's time, but
I don't remember. It's
they
been so long.
I think I'm wrong on that one, but it's just a guess.
These
Either
guys
way.
are not the names that I remember it being. Might have
The-
been
the-
19 that they had. Kennedy Brooks.
Kennedy Brooks, yeah, Eagles, right? Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love a bigger back, and he's, I feel like he's slimmed down a little bit, but he's still got that heft to him, and he's still quick. He's smart. His vision's great. Good pass catcher out of the backfield. Like, I love
Does it all.
Ramondre Stevenson. He really does. He is a true do-it-all back.
Mhm.
And in a league where there's not a lot, and that's a whole conversation for another time about, where running backs are right now. But in a league where there's really not only not a lot of do-it-all backs, but just not a lot of elite running backs, like, I feel like Ramondre Stevenson's kind of creeping up towards being one of the best backs in football because of how well-rounded he is and how good he is in different aspects. Like, he's not a jack of all trades, master of none. He's a jack of all trades, pretty damn good at everything he's good at, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like he's somebody that, even though he's already good, is almost primed for a breakout to jump into that top 5 conversation for running backs. And I'd really like to see what he's looking like in his own blocking scheme, because I think that's going to be huge for him. Like Aidan said with Cole Strange, I'm really, really excited to see what that's going to look like for him, despite his non-enjoyment of fullbacks as much as it hurts me.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the opposite of what you would hear from like any Patriots preview anywhere else, because everywhere else you're getting basically 2 hours of Ramondre Stevenson content, and we kind of haven't mentioned him at all because it's just a given. We know that this dude is a stud, and
exactly.
he was underground. It felt like for a while. He was like the really, really good SoundCloud rapper that, because nobody thought about it. And honestly, if it weren't for fantasy football, nobody would think about him now. Anyway, people didn't realize how good he was in 2021. I mean, I was not a fan of the pick when it was made. I was not a fan of him as a prospect, and he proved me wrong immediately. He had a 90-yard touchdown in the first preseason game, and he was really good all of his rookie season. And I went into last season and I thought he was better than Damian Harris before last season, and I was proven right. And I was a big Damian Harris guy. Now I'm not. Now I hate him. Now Johnny Damon, but yeah, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson was for the longest time an underground guy. Nobody really knew about him, and we made it out the trenches with Mondre. That agenda won.
Yeah, I've been trying to build up like an all agenda team for the 2023 season. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, Ramondre's going to be the running back and Gonzo's going to be CB1. Like, and Duggar might find his way on. I got to look. I'm trying. My only caveat is I'm not allowed to put any bears on it because that would be, off the wall. And because I can't put Brisker
Sam
on it.
Would he be on there?
I want Sam Mustipher to rot in Guantanamo Bay.
Exactly. That
how you feel about what's his name, the corner?
Bryant.
How you feel about him is how I feel about Sam Mustipher. And thankfully he's gone. He's in Baltimore. He can't hurt me anymore.
I don't know about that. He's gonna find a way.
If he finds a way back onto the roster, I will.
No. It's not back onto the roster. You'll just see him do something. He'll like ruin your fantasy team or something like that.
I don't care about fantasy. No, I'm not even.
I don't either. I don't even play fantasy.
Existence. I play fantasy just so I can have the Cole Kmet, Justin Fields stack, and that's it.
I don't even play fantasy.
I'm a massive fantasy guy. That's my thing.
That's fair.
I retired from fantasy after like I realized why am I still stressing myself out about this in 2021? Right.
Yeah, I don't play it for money or anything. I do casual stuff. And honestly, more than anything, it's like a content creator thing. Like I'll get invited to little creator leagues, or people that follow me will want me to start a league, and that's kind of the most I do. Then I'm in one with one of my friends, and that's it. Like I'm not a big fantasy guy. I don't go deep into it. I like to invest in Bears players, and then when they do good, I can be like, "Ha! Look, I was smart." When in reality, I'm just a really big homer. But yeah, I overall as a whole, because this is about to be the longest one of these I've recorded. We're pushing it really close. I love what the Patriots have going on. Going into this, I didn't think I'd be saying that, but honestly, like my last minute prep that I do for each one of these completely flipped my opinion on the Patriots this morning. And I'm glad I did that, because if not, I would have came in here and been a real Debbie Downer, and that wouldn't have been fun. This is a fun team to hype up. It's a fun team to get excited about. I really like what they're doing. I really like what they're cooking. They have a lot of exciting, underrated players on this team. And as much as I hate to admit it, I do think Mac Jones is going to have a bounce back year. So I think this team's going to be a lot better than some people are giving it credit for.
Oh, yeah.
But
I'm
with
you.
that being said, I think that about wraps us up here. Before we go, if you guys want to plug anything, by all means, I'll make sure to put it down in the description below so everyone can go check it out.
Yeah, just if you like really niche college basketball stuff, follow me on Twitter.
Yep. I'm Aidan_Maher17 on Twitter. Big fantasy football, NFL, and NBA guy. Those are kind of my three things. And then Maher Sports on YouTube and TikTok. So it's where you find all my stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, all that will be down in the description below, as well as all of my links. You can find me Miller Football pretty much everywhere, if not Miller Football _. And then I have 2 podcasts that I'm currently running. We've got Run the North, which is just an overall sports podcast, and then Bear Down Boys, which is a Chicago Bears podcast. We just started, actually. So if you want to check those out, all the links are down in the description below. And to everyone out there watching, thank you for sitting through this. This has been a very eventful video. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It was a ton of fun.
This is more exciting than any of the Patriots games last year.
Well, I'm glad you think so. And thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, David.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This is
absolutely
awesome.
I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad.
We'll debrief again after the season.
Absolutely. Absolutely. After the way this went, we have to.
Yep.
But make sure to leave a like down below if you're out there watching. Helps out the channel a ton, shows you care, shows you support me, and that's always great. And definitely subscribe. We've got more of these coming out throughout the month because I have to cram like 15 teams in before September 7th because I suck at scheduling. July was a tough month, and it really threw off my scheduling and my course and all that. So we're cramming everything into August, but we're making it work. I've been able to mostly work around reschedules, other than the fact that I have to record 2 of these today. But that being said, I think that wraps us up here. So to the 2 gentlemen joining me here today and everyone out there watching, I hope you all have a wonderful day, evening, night, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. I hope you enjoy it because you're all wonderful people and you deserve it.